What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another edition of the evolution of Sports Talk Television. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake. How do we start off this show? As you know them, you love them, you got to have them, got to keep my voice down, of course, because it is a Monday night. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. On tonight's show, we'll have the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty, former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions. And we will have Jim Melvin on, who is worked for the St. Pete Times for 25 years behind the scenes in the sports department. So he has some great stuff there, great story from him. So we'll definitely talk to him in just a little bit, but kind of want to start off the show in a different manner at this point. There was some breaking news from the J.P. Peterson show here on Friday about the Rays possibly selling. I want to get to that because we want to definitely talk about some Tampa Bay Rays baseball tonight. Of course, their game was postponed because of inclement weather, so that always stinks. But the Rays pick up their first win yesterday in spring training. Lots of excitement with them playing at Legends Field this year. But the breaking news was, and this again is according to J.P. Peterson of the J.P. Peterson Show, which can be seen and heard on Facebook and YouTube Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, that the Rays are looking to sell. This is how he started off his show today. So we'll set the table as always. We'll take your phone calls as always. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Again, keeping my voice at a tone at this point because trying to be respectful of the roommates and the other room. Sorry about that. In fact, I'll throw this out there really quick. You want me to change the show to 8 o'clock at this point? We'll throw that out there, throw that in the inbox. Before we get to that, once again, we'll be talking about your Tampa Bay Rays, giving you some questions. What are you looking forward to this year with this Tampa Bay Rays team? There is actually something out there from FanDuel. Where do the Rays fans think this team will finish in the AL East? Where do you think they can finish? I know it's early. We'll ask the question once again. And then, of course, the NFL Combine is starting tomorrow. What's a position that you're looking forward to with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? As always, phone lines are open, but we're going to go to this J.P. Peterson clip here. I want to set the table right here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Enjoy.
So I have a lot of connections. I travel in a lot of circles with some people that have a hell of a lot more money than me. I'm the broke guy. But I have a lot of nice connections and people that I know, and I depend on them to give me good information. And most of the time it's really, really good. Never perfect. We're never perfect. I don't have to explain the 90% rule to you guys again at USF, but never perfect. But we try to give you as best a feel for what I'm hearing. Okay, I'm not here to be a fact writer for the Times. That's a totally different deal. When I worked at News Channel 8, there was a totally different deal. And I tell you guys this is what I know. This is what I'm hearing. This is what I believe is fact. This is where I think things are going. As we started with this process, you know, when let's just go back to when this deal was done in St. or quote done in St. Pete, we're here to stay, all that BS. And we told you then, I'm not going to believe it until the shovels get in the ground. I had lots of questions. And first and foremost, there ain't no way Stu Sternberg's paying $700 million plus cost overruns. I don't believe it. I never believed it. And as we dove more into the facts, and then we got the contracts, we got the money, we dissected it with our good friends at nohomerun.com, and we told you this deal is never going to happen. It is never going to happen. And I believe that's come to fruition. If the Rays were going to do this deal, why wouldn't they have done it by now? You know, everybody wants to wait for the March 31st deadline. If the Rays were going to do the deal and time was of the essence, like we've been told, why wouldn't they have pulled the trigger already? Now, you could say they're trying to, get to the funding gap. I don't believe that either. Nobody wants to do business with the Rays. And this is where a lot of this information comes in. I've talked to people that are very much involved in the negotiations of what's going on here and the possible sale of the club. These, I trust these contacts. I trust these sources. They are well informed. And what I was told on Friday, actually, I was told this a couple weeks ago. I was given a name, And I started to check in on it and started putting things together. And finally, and I told you guys this, and we told you this 3 months ago, that there was at least one group, probably two, that were trying to buy the Rays that were Tampa based. And they had the blessings of Major League Baseball. When this whole thing blew up and Rob Manfred was talking to Chris Lotfella, talking to the city and explaining to them, pass the bonds. And they never said, remember we told you this, St. Pete, Mayor Ken Welsh never said, I've been assured that this team is going to stay in St. Pete. He said, no, the Tampa Bay area. So we did the digging and we found out that these groups were trying to buy the team, and Tampa was the desired location. Now, could this St. Pete deal go through? Could there be some crazy 11th hour financier who comes in? I don't think so, because Major League Baseball does not want the stadium in St. Pete and has never wanted the stadium in St. Pete. So Major League Baseball, Rob Manfred is set on getting one of these Tampa groups across the finish line and build in both of these groups. I'm told want to build in Tampa. The Ybor City location obviously is still there for the giving. It's no accident that Darryl Shaw has left that acreage open. He's developed other parts of the gas works area there, and he's left that parcel open for a reason, because he knew that there were some options for Tampa and the Rays to eventually build a stadium there. Now, it's not the only option, I'm told. They're going to look at everything, but first they're concentrated on getting the sale done. And forever we've said we need a knight in shining armor. We need somebody to come in here who's got deep pockets, that's connected to Tampa Bay, and can get this deal done and build a stadium in Tampa. I don't want to go through all the machinations, and I do not want the St. Pete people yelling and screaming it's St. Pete versus Tampa. It's never been about that. It's never been about that for me. I understand it is provincial for you, but it's never been about that for me. It's about where is it best? Where does it serve the fans best? Where does it serve the team best? Where can they make the most money to be competitive in the marketplace with payroll? And that's Tampa, Tampa, Tampa. It's, the old, you've heard these things a million times, 2.5, probably 2.8 million people now within a 30-minute drive, and only 600,000 within that drive at the Tropicana Field. It's just numbers. It's just demographics. And that's where the money comes from. Businesses, premium seating, and everything. And of course, it didn't hurt that all the premium seating that was available in Tampa got scooped up in a heartbeat at inflated prices. That just gives more Major League Baseball and the two prospective groups that are trying to buy the Rays more momentum into saying, yes, this is where it needs to be, and this is going to be a success. So the momentum is good. So basically, what I was told and confirmed, that this lead group is very much being propped up by Major League Baseball. They're the lead group. I cannot give you the name of those people. There's another group, also Tampa-based, and I've been told Eddie DeBartolo is part of that group. He is not the lead person, but he is part of that group. And obviously, that would be a fantastic situation. Deep pockets, great owner, own the 49ers, knows how to win, great Tampa person, can't get any better. And both of these groups, I think, have an opportunity, but Major League Baseball, I think, is supporting the other group more. That's what I've been told, because they think that deal can get done quicker and better. But I think it is still, and of course, Stu has, the final say on who buys the team, right? Now, I'm also told that he wants a lot of money for the team. It's worth $1.2 billion, according to Forbes. Now, their valuations are typically about 20%.
All right, we'll cut it right there. Let's go out to my co-host here. Here we go. Let's go out to professional handicapper extraordinaire, Mr. Harry the Greek. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television on a Monday night, my friend.
What's happening, brother?
What's going on? And let me go out to this guy right here.
Book him, Dano.
Let's go out to Mr. Leo Haggerty, former coach, dad, and now media member of Night Sports Productions and Amped Up Sports. What do we make of this story? Because I heard something about this about 6 months ago, that there was a group that was trying to buy the Rays. At the time, the deal fell through, and now it certainly seems like this deal with St. Pete is not going to work out. Major League Baseball wants it to be in Tampa, wants this ownership group, whomever they are, two groups, one led by Eddie DeBartolo, who a lot of football fans are very familiar with in his greatness with the San Francisco 49ers. So let me go out to you, Harry. What do you make of this report? Welcome again to the Evolution.
I don't know. I don't know really much about it, to be honest with you. And, I just been kind of sitting back watching to see where the chips are going to fall. And wherever they fall, they're going to lie. I mean, it doesn't mean just because somebody's looking to purchase this team that they're even going to sell. This is all preliminary. They don't give a shit what Major League Baseball has to say about it. It's whatever this owner, Stu, is going to end up doing. They can force his hand all they want. Trust me. This could be years before a deal gets done if Stu doesn't want to get rid of this team.
It's a good point. I do think that Rob Manfred here at Major League Baseball will have a little bit more power and is kind of sick of the song and dance that Stu and this ownership group has. It's like a dog and pony show at this point, Leo Haggerty, because we've heard about the stadium situation the last 10 to 15 years. It was going to be in St. Pete. Now it's not going to be in St. Pete. It was going to be in Ybor. Now it's not going to be in Ybor. Now it's going to be in St. Pete again. It was going to be in Montreal. I mean, where does it end? And the main constant is always Stu Sternberg and this ownership. What do you make of this report, once again, by the J.P. Peterson Show and J.P. Peterson?
Well, Peter, I'd have to see two things to make me sit up and take notice. The first thing is if the name Jeffrey Vinnick is attached to either one of them. If they're not, I'm not going to take it seriously.
Okay.
Because that's the guy you want on your team. That's the guy who makes things happen. He's the best owner, not just in the Tampa Bay area. He's probably the best owner in professional sports. The second thing I want to see is this better be a dome. I mean, and they're going to find out the hard way because they have no other option that they're dealing with 10 to 15 rainouts this year. Just at home. Because
Only?
Welcome to Tampa.
Only 10 to 15 rainouts? Are you serious?
I was being conservative, Harry. I was taking the under. But
Listen,
you know what?
Literally, if any game is earlier than 7 o'clock, you'll have 50% of your games in the summertime carrying over for another time. It's just, it's a mess. They have to go into a dome. Have to. Absolutely have to go into a dome. What's happening, Leo? I haven't talked to you in a while.
I know. We've been crossing paths by phone or by text or whatever, but everything's fine. Harry, the Lakers. I'm going to throw this out real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Are they a good bet to get to the finals? I'm not seeing this. Everybody's saying, well, Luka Doncic. That I would move my money more toward the Warriors with Jimmy Butler and Steph. What are you thinking?
Already basketball talk here. Look at that, Harry.
I gotta tell you, I'm not one that really follows too much in the NBA. I'd have to defer to one of my handicapping experts. I have to throw a little plug out there. Mr. Kendrick himself from Heavy's Food Truck, and he's got a brick and mortar store there on the south side in St. Pete. Now that man knows a lot about it. But I'd have to agree with you. Number one, what Jimmy Butler has done for the Golden State Warriors, it's quite impressive.
Not surprising, because when Butler is motivated and when he's healthy, that team is definitely different. I want to throw some betting odds at you, professional handicapper extraordinaire, Mr. Harry the Greek. If you're confident enough in the Rays squad to put money on the line, according to FanDuel, the Rays are getting plus 360 on the Rays, picking up 90 wins, plus 950 on the Rays winning the division, and plus 4,800 on winning the World Series. Now, would you take some of these bets? Because if you look at it, and I get it, every year the Rays are questionable with their offense. Where is it going to come from? They got your guy there, Eloy Jimenez, who is not able to stay healthy, but he could be a reclamation project.
First off, he's a great hitter.
Okay.
Okay, the guy's a great hitter when he's healthy. And no disrespect to one Joey Kriebel, a local kid who's back with the Tampa Bay Rays, by the way. I want to let that cat out of the bag. No, I don't like the over in any of these games until they show me they have a pitching staff and they could replace some of these position players that they have. I mean, I'll tell you what, the Yankees have regressed this year, unfortunately. Sorry, Adam. I know you're probably watching, but they've regressed. I mean, they just lost Giancarlo Stanton, but teams like Baltimore, teams like Toronto and Boston, they're getting better really quick. And honestly, with the uncertainty where this ball club is going to play, how good are you going to be, man? I mean, you don't even know where your home's going to be, and you're playing in some AAA field across street from the Buck Stadium. I mean, I know it's kind of cool, but it's going to be outdoors the entire season. I mean, really, how good can you possibly want to be? I mean,
well, to that point, the games are going to be at 7:30, so they're going to be a little bit later. So that definitely may help the Rays out. We all know about the weather here. We'll have to get Dennis Phillips on maybe during the season to give us a weather forecast because everybody.
But tell me what they did this year, Peter. Because it seems like you were wanting me to say, yeah, bet the over. They're great odds, But if you got an extra $100 to waste, you know what? I've seen if you throw enough shit up against the wall, eventually something's going to stick, right, guys? I mean, come on. Take $100. You bet it on them to win the World Series. That's worth it. But I mean, you're going to ask me about 90 wins. You're going to get plus 360. First off, that's horrible odds. Okay. Because there's not many teams that win over 90 wins. But tell me what this Tampa Bay Rays team has done this year in the offseason to make them another 90-win team. Just name it.
I will answer your question here. I'll go full screen. You look at that pitching staff. You're getting back Shane McClanahan. You have Pepio. You have Bradley. You have Baz. You could have a dynamic pitching staff.
Great point.
Comes to 1-5. I get it. The question is always about how many runs they can score. But right.
Peter, a great pitching staff will nullify great hitting. You don't need a great hitting team, okay? Honestly, you don't. But and it's no disrespect to Joey. Joey, I know you're out there watching it, but your bullpen, man, it's nothing to write home to mom about. It really isn't. You're going to be the only live arm that's out there, and God willing, you stick into the majors this year because they're going to need you. Okay, it's time. You're 32 years old. It's your time. You're back at home. Make it count and stick up there, brother, because we are all rooting for you. And if that's the case, you could be one of the hold leaders in the entire American League.
Yeah,
I mean, you have that kind of special stuff. But who is their closer this year? Can you tell me? Is it closer by committee?
Yeah, it seems like
if he's healthy, but that's the biggest question mark in the world.
Yeah.
And then that goes back to the point of can this pitching staff stay healthy? But you have to be pretty excited here, Leo. Maybe this team could sneak 90 wins because Toronto, they're not looking great at this point. We'll see. It's a long season. Baltimore, they're always tough. You look at Boston, you look at New York. It's a gauntlet of teams, but you look at the pitching staff for the Tampa Bay Rays. If and only if they can stay healthy, 1-5, 1-6, it's pretty tremendous if you're looking at it.
You know what, though, Peter? When they're starting to talk about a 6-man rotation, that's got to tell me that bullpen is in shambles right now. Because why would you not want to run McClanahan out every 5th day? I mean, come on. The guys, when he's healthy.
Good point, Leo.
You want to get that guy to the mound as much as possible. You want to get him 25, 28, 30 starts.
Right.
6-man rotation. Boy, I'll tell you, that's.
Well, maybe that saves.
That usually requires one of your starters to go into the bullpen, i.e., a member of Michael Kopech.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's same thing, man. You may end up having to do something like that. But again, going back to the question you asked me, tell me what they've done. Forget about the fact. I mean, and these are uncertainties, Pete. Just because, and again, no disrespect, okay, sir? I know you're the host of the show. Just because you know the name of a player doesn't mean that they're great. It just doesn't. Okay. Right. That player has to go out and prove himself this year. Last year, they've been injured. The year before, they were injured. It's just what's going to make them healthy again? To me, you want to get better? Tell me you got a different team physician. Tell me you got a different team trainer to make sure that these players are going to be able to stay healthy. And God forbid, you don't have the right manager coaching these young men. Okay? Because it's all about that complete circle. And it starts with the head. You know who the head is? That's Stu. Okay?
Well,
and let's just say they're playing 500 ball.
Right.
And all of a sudden, a lot of their pitchers, if they're playing 5
games under the 90, right, Harry?
Yeah, but let's just say they're playing 500 ball. It's right around the 4th of July. They're sitting, 6-7 games out of first place. They have a shot. All they got to do is just add a couple of bets because, the Rays, they've just been so great and wonderful about picking up free agent acquisitions because they're going to dip into that wallet. Okay. I've never seen anybody cheaper than Stu that was cheaper than George Halas. Okay. And that's something right there. And let me be really, really clear. if any of these 3 pitchers or 4 or even 5 of these pitchers are having tremendous years, they'll be gone at the trade deadline because they don't want to pay them.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Okay,
about,
come on, man. I mean,
yeah.
now I'm getting fired up. This
Well,
is
I love when you get fired up here. I'm your host, Peter Blake, your Rolex reporter right there, along with Harry the Greek, professional handicapper extraordinaire, and the legend himself, Leo Haggerty. Open phone lines. The question for the night: what are you expecting out of this Tampa Bay Rays team? In fact, FanDuel did a poll on this in care of draysbay.com, and they said, yep, where do the Rays fans think the team will finish? First, 16%. Second, 31%. Third, 38%. Fourth, 15%. And fifth, 0%. So, with the team that's coming
what
out.
Was that? 0% for last?
0% for last.
That's called delusional because it's supposed to be even all the way across. You
Yeah.
want an actual poll? Ask the handicappers that don't live in the Tampa Bay area who are they're just baseball fans. Those are the people you need to be asking. And honestly, I'm not prepared at this point right now to be able to give you that type of information. But you need to ask people, like, say, in Las Vegas, hey, what do you think of this team? People that really follow baseball. You have to. You got to know what the acquisitions are. Just the same thing I asked you, Peter. I said, what made you think that this team can win 90 games? And you gave me a very concise answer.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's logical. But seriously, but that one, 0% chance for fifth? Really?
Well, we'll see. Leo Haggerty, I mean, what do you think of this poll? First, second, third, fourth, and fifth. I mean, what do you see this team finishing? How many wins, in your opinion? I get it early, and we'll go ahead and ask this question right before the season to see if any of our opinions have changed with spring training coming about.
You're talking about 90 wins. Okay, 81 and 81 is 500. So you're talking about going a +9. So you're talking about going 90 and then 72?
Yes.
In the AL East, when you got to play the Yankees, the Red Sox, and the Orioles? No.
I'm gonna throw it out there. Also, I'm gonna be optimistic, Pete. Here, the eternal optimist returns in Rays form here. Even though I don't care for the ownership, I think that smaller field may also benefit the Tampa Bay Rays, where they're finally in Tampa. You have that energy. I get it. It's going to be 11 or 12,000. But it's going to be a home field advantage. It's going to be an open air. And I'll tell you another thing that will be a favorite to him. Brandon Lau may be able to stay healthy because he's going to be on a grass surface instead of whatever that's called there. That's
great point. But Pete,
thank you.
They are going to hit a lot of home runs for Tampa. But you know who's going to hit a lot of home runs too? The oppositions are going to hit a lot of home runs. Small field, Pete. Open air. Heavy humidity, ball carries really, really, really nice.
All right, let's go.
That's going to be the Coors Field of the East.
I love it.
It could be. It very well could be.
And I'll tell you why I love it. I'm right down the street there. So
I'm loving it. I'm sponsored through McDonald's, Malaka.
I do.
You know what I'm saying?
All right, let's go on to the.
Hang on, man. I got to give a shout out to a couple of people.
Go for it. Do it.
All right, my boy down there in Miami with his mother, Mr. K9. Much love out to you, man. I do appreciate it. Thanks for the text. I know you're out there watching it. Just keep doing what you're doing, and always tune in to the Sports Web. This is all your best coverage out there. But much love to Mr. Mr. K9 himself. There's a reason for the name, okay? Just always remember.
We love that. Here we love
and
all
his
this.
Mom. His mom. She's the best, buddy.
Well, I'm gonna shout out to my mom because Sandra Nagel here on Instagram Live says watching the best sports talk show in the Tampa Bay area, the Sports Web, with Leo of Amped Up Sports, Leo Haggerty, and of course Harry the Greek. Great job bringing it as always. That's what we do here, Mom. Appreciate you as always. With that being said, you know that I'm not as excited as I usually am. I'm not probably yelling as much as I have before because I'm trying to be considerate of my two roommates.
He doesn't want to get thrown out of his apartment. I don't blame him. So you know what, Harry? Let's take over for him. Bring your passion. Bring your excitement.
And bring plenty of nonsense.
Right.
I'm your host, Harry the Greek.
Well, let me
something to talk
about.
Well, let me
You're a Chicago Bear fan.
let me throw this out there, guys.
Rolex reporter. Is that better?
Yes, it is. Should I change the show to 8:00 on Monday nights?
I think you should change it to 7.
Oh, you're an idiot.
I think you should change it to 7.
8:00.
We're asking a 71-year-old guy if he wants to go earlier. I mean, that's an easy answer, guys.
All right. 8:00.
58. I'm thinking about going to bed. What are you kidding me?
We'll put it in the box there, and if you guys went out, we'll put it on social media tomorrow, 8:00 on Monday nights here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, to be considerate. So where do you have this team in your opinion at this point, Harry? I know you don't know a lot about the Rays, but they've improved.
No, I know a lot about the team. I just haven't really researched it. But if you ask me,
Caminero, yes, first, second,
they're a 500 club. With any kind of luck, they can get 3 or 4 games above it, still possibly even hit a wild card. They're not winning the division. They're just not that good yet. Until they can prove to me that their position players can play, everybody around them has gotten really good. Baltimore's, you guys seem to forget, man, Baltimore got really good the past couple of years. And Boston, they just arguably picked up the best left-hander in all of baseball.
Very true. All right, Leo, where do you see this Tampa Bay Rays team finishing? And we will revisit this in a couple of weeks after spring training once again to get our final predictions. But where do you see this team going?
Well, it's kind of funny, Peter, when you read me out the results of that. I think a little either above or below 50% thought they were first and second. I don't see a snowball's chance in what of that happening.
Wow.
Not because they may not be that good, but you're playing in a different park. You're still playing the Yankees, the Red Sox, and the Orioles. And we haven't even talked about Toronto. And with a 6-man rotation, and you're going to get a heck of a lot of rainouts, that 6-man rotation may go down to 4 just because, Harry, I know Peter isn't old enough to remember this, but hey, how about this one? Spawn and Sane in 2 days of rain, right?
Spawn and Sane in 2 days of rain. But you know what the positive is, Leo? They may actually have a couple of sellouts this year.
Well, they're going to have all kinds of sellouts this year. And I tell you, I'm going to go ahead and
what do they hold, 12,000?
Well, 11, 12,000, but also you're in Tampa.
Buddy will take it.
Yes.
Yeah, and you know what, Peter? You talked about being a home field advantage. Guess what? When the Yankees play there may not be a Tampa Bay fan in the stands. Because when we were down at the Trop, we're sitting next to this whole group of Yankee people. I said, why are you down here? He said, it's cheaper for us to get a plane, buy tickets for 2 games,
for sure,
a hotel room, than it is to try and get 4 tickets up at Yankee Stadium.
That's the truth.
And you think the Tampa Bay season ticket holders aren't going to sell out to the Yankees or the Red Sox? I'll tell you what, that's something no one's talked about. That's not going to be a home field advantage, and that's a shame.
Well, I still, again, continue to be the eternal optimist. I hope there's more Tampa Bay fans there than the Red Sox and Yankees. But
that's Tampa Bay sports just in general.
All right. Well, let's go out. Let's go out. Well,
that's true.
It can happen in hockey and it can happen in football, which we've seen it happen with both of those teams because of better ownership.
Right.
I tend to believe that with better ownership by the Rays, the same could happen also. Now let's go out to Apple TV's reporter Trisha Whitaker, who used to be with the Tampa Bay Rays. And she says when discussing the move on foul territory about the Rays going to Tampa, she said people don't come to St. Pete for games. That hasn't changed since 1998. This stadium should be in Tampa, not St. Pete. She also goes on to say it's going to give a lot of Rays fans in Tampa a chance to go to the game, and I think it's actually going to be good for them. So again, for me, I think it's also going to be good. It's going to be interesting to see. And once again, I get it. You have 2 catastrophic hurricanes that damaged the Trop, and you didn't want to see that happen. But maybe this is a blessing in disguise for, once again, all Major League Baseball to see that this stadium, and I love St. Pete, don't get me wrong, but it should be in Tampa. Do we all agree with that?
No.
Okay, why don't you agree with it being
I think this team always should have been in St. Petersburg. There was nothing wrong with it. They just needed to do a little bit better at drawing a crowd. Like, for instance, get rid of the friggin' owner because he's a piece of garbage. You and I both know that. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, okay? Because if you had a real owner here, he'd be able to draw from Sarasota, Hillsborough, and Pasco County. Forget about just Pinellas County because St. Pete has millions of people. Just Pinellas County alone.
Okay.
Peter, let's just call it what it is. When you don't have good ownership, I don't care if it's the same owner. You keep them here in Pinellas County and St. Pete, you're going to have the same results as in Tampa. The first year, you may have a little bit of an increase because you know what? It's the new shiny toy and everybody's going to play with it. But trust me, it's going to wear off.
You know what, guys? And this is what amazed me from the day they got the franchise over there. Why in God's name do the Rays not get with Heartline and set up a bus coming from Hillsborough County right to the stadium? That should have been day one. The fact that they do nothing for mass transit to get fans to the stadium is a travesty. I'm telling you guys, we are watching Major League Part 3.
The ownership doesn't care, Leo. The ownership doesn't care. You just, if it's cathartic, gentlemen. Just repeat after me. The ownership doesn't care. The only thing he cares about is lining his rich ass pockets like he has been. Okay. That's exactly what he's done. He's taken every good baseball player that has come through this organization since he's owned this club and ran them right out the damn door because he doesn't want to pay them. And he's relying, in which he's had arguably some of the best scouts in all of baseball, to be able to keep flourishing with the amount of talent that this team has in the minor leagues. But you know what? That well eventually is going to dry up, okay? And it already has started drying up. That's the problem with the Tampa Bay Rays. No other problem. It starts with Stu himself. I don't care if they sell it and they go to Tampa. They're going to be successful for 1 year with all this attendance, and it's just going to be like anything else. But if they had a different owner, okay, who actually gave a damn about this organization, you don't have to leave out of St. Petersburg. You just don't have to. They will come. You build it, they are going to come. That's it.
Well, and I tend to agree with you on that. And I feel like I would, again, party like it's 1999 if they do sell, Stu does sell, and you get a new owner. I'm not a big time drinker, but I'll have shots with you guys. I'll get drunk with you guys. We'll have a sports web event. That's how happy I would be for finally, this organization to have real ownership, much like what the Tampa Bay Lightning have with Jeff Finnick, and of course the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have with, of course, the Glazers.
You have a comment that it just popped up. I want to go ahead and bring it up because I
want
to respond to it.
I'm going to read
I know.
these.
Can I just do this one?
Yeah, sure.
Bobby, appreciate the comment. It says Rays need to be in Tampa. The population around the Trop is the lowest in baseball. You're absolutely correct. But let me give you some reality here. Most major league markets, their draws from 40 miles away and even 50. It isn't from around the stadium. Not everybody is as blessed. What do you think? If they put the stadium in Tampa, that it's going to be like Wrigley Field in Chicago? It isn't. Believe me when I'm telling you it's not. I've been to a lot of stadiums. Your draws from 40 to 50 miles outside the stadium. So just because they're going to put it in Tampa doesn't mean they're going to have that kind of draw. They will come. Remember, it's just a short ride. I can get from Bradenton quicker to the Trop than I could from Tampa to the Trop.
Yeah.
That's my point. That's the only point I'm trying to make. Now, could they increase it a little bit? Yeah, but why move it? Just change the owners. Everything will be fine.
Well, because Major League Baseball and Rob Manfred believe that the population center is in Tampa, and that's where they want the stadium. And then the new owners, whomever they're going to be, whatever groups they have, whether it's Eddie DeBartolo or somebody else,
that would be a hell of an owner right there.
I agree with you on that, and that's always been talked about with owning the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, whether it was DeBartolo, whether it was Chris Sullivan and the Outback Group and Basham, and before the Glazers bought the team. So it's certainly a possibility. Major League Baseball, I think, is steering this ship at this point. They want to be rid of Sternberg. They should be wanting to be rid of Sternberg because he's taken, like you said, Harry, taken all the money and has lined his pockets instead of investing in the product while criticizing the Rays fans. That's the reason why the Rays fans don't. Again, this is what I've always said. A Rays team, they want you to fully invest in what they're doing, but they fully don't want to invest in what they are doing. Really quick to wrap up with the Rays, and then we'll move on to football because the Combine is tomorrow, starting in the Combine, and that's the other question for the night. 89% of Rays fans think the team will win more than 80 games this season. So what's your number? Give me an exact number Harry, on how many wins you think the Rays have right now. And once again, you can change that number.
With the current pitching staff, the condition of the bullpen, and the lack of offense, I give them top 85 games this year on the top part of the scale.
Okay, 85 games right now. And again, we'll revisit this this question. Leo, how many wins do the Rays have in 2025?
Harry, you took everything I was going to say, so I'm not going to repeat it. I'm just going to give one more win and give him 86. But that's I don't see anything higher than that. In fact, that may be that's the ceiling, I think.
Not in this division, man. It's just too many teams have gotten so much better than the Rays did this year. You know, I've had, Pete, it's another thing, man. I've had people talk to me because we were having conversations. I operate multiple garages and I talk to a lot of people and I have a lot of connections in the industry. And we're talking sports all the time. And I have people tell me, well, if the Rays were here, I'd go to more games. Well, you're not a real fan then. It's just across the bridge, for God's sakes. Or if the Rays were in Sarasota, I'd go to more games. Real fans will travel 40 to 50 miles to go see it. It's just the reality of it, man. I mean, it's a really weird market. It just really is a weird market.
Only one stadium in the country that you can get to in 30 minutes.
What's that?
Any one.
Any of them?
There's not many.
No, there isn't. But the people that live, the only one that I know of is Wrigley Field.
That's Field, because it was built in the neighborhood.
Right. It was built in the neighborhood, and you can walk from the neighborhood. And it's an actual, and you know what? It's in a neighborhood you could actually walk to. Okay. Mm-hmm. No pun intended, but that's the truth.
Yeah. The nice thing about Philadelphia is everything's all centrally located there in South Philly at Broad and Patterson. But you could go to Jersey, park on the high-speed line, and it would drop you off at the stadium.
Yeah, you can go to money. You can go to any New York Yankee game. Just take mass transit right out there.
Yep.
Okay. All right, guys. Really quick, and
you'll
then
be there in 30 minutes.
We'll move on to football, and we'll read these comments. Webheads, I'm not going to neglect you tonight. Well, we'll just go out to the phone lines because we asked for questions and comments. What's your name? Where you calling from? You're on the Evolution.
Hey there. Greetings, guys. My name is Josue. I've called in before.
Oh, what's going on, Jose?
How you doing, Jose?
Decided to call in on an off night here because of all this weather for me.
Okay.
Bad weather.
Okay.
Okay. So Harry.
Yes, sir.
So let me address what you were just saying about the whole you're not a real fan because the team is located in a spot and we won't drive to it or whatever. You got to realize that this is a unique area. Okay, we have a big ass piece of water in the middle of the area. We have bridges that can only go a couple of ways.
6 miles wide.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Depending on which bridge. And you got to account for all the traffic because everybody travels in cars down here. There's no mass transit.
Right.
There's no bus lines that run directly. Point. There's this ferry that goes from Tampa to St. Pete, but that only runs 2 or 3 times a day. So you got to plan your whole day around it. You can't compare this area to other locations because of the fact that other locations don't have a big ass piece of water in the middle of the viewing area.
I think that's fair. I think that's absolutely a fair point.
That's a fair idea. But I have a question for you, Jose. Do you live in Tampa area?
Yes.
You do. Well, then you're actually saying something out of selfishness. And I'm not saying that to be wrong here, or not trying to be mean. You would rather have the Rays there because it'd be easier for you to go to. So isn't it going to be the same for the people that live in Pinellas County that want to drive to Hillsborough then?
People in Pinellas County don't even drive to the Rays games anyway.
Well, it's neither do the people from Tampa. You see, it's the same thing. I think the traffic's a little worse going east trying to get into Tampa than it is from Tampa getting back. Well, you know what? I can't say that. It's really bad both ways, right, Jose? I mean, it really is pretty awful.
3 o'clock. So yeah, it's not pretty.
Honestly, when I left Chicago years ago, I thought I seen traffic. I mean, it just reminds me of the same thing. It's pretty bad. But you bring up a valid point. But it would be easier for you because you live in Tampa. But I would like to hear the people that live in Pinellas County that would say, "Hey, I'd rather see the stadium in Tampa. I mean, if you ask the people in Lakeland, they're going to say, you know what, we have perfect property. We could put it there.
All right. Let me ask.
Let me ask you
Jose-
this. Hey, Jose, you know where the dog track is at Derby Lane right there in Gandy?
Great spot
Right,
for a stadium.
is that the foot of the bay, right?
Yeah,
Going-
right at the foot of the bay. It's right at the end of the Gandy Bridge. I mean, right at the end of it. Are you familiar with it?
Not too familiar because I don't really go to South Tampa that much because I'm in North Tampa. I'm near Busch Gardens, so that's even a bit of a hike, even going
Sure.
across town.
Yeah.
These days,
Yeah. Absolutely.
especially in the middle of a week when you're trying to get to a 6:40 or 7 o'clock game. Like you gotta leave here like around like 4 to even like get there in a reasonable amount of time, and then you gotta account for parking. You gotta account for the walk to inside the dome. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of factors.
That would be any stadium, to be honest with you.
But again, what he's saying is that there's more of a population center here in Tampa than St. Pete. And again, I love St. Pete. I love it. And I think, mass
I like
transit
St. Pete too.
Mass transit, but at the end of the day, it's what Major League Baseball wants. And Stu, if you wanted a stadium in St. Pete, this deal would be done. If you wanted a stadium in Ybor, the deal would be done. The constant is Stu Sternberg. He wants as much money as possible. In fact, his cronies have come out the last couple of weeks and said, well, the reason why we haven't got this deal done is because we had 2 catastrophic hurricanes and the delay by Pinellas County and their commission, which costs us $150. They are so $150 million, more like it. They are so tone deaf to anything that's going on in the Bay Area. I'm hoping that we move on. And
Jose, are you a fan of the owner of the Tampa Bay Rays, Stu?
No, I've never been a fan of his, honestly.
And why is that? Why aren't you a fan of Stu Sternberg?
Well, I just think that
he's a jackass, right? I'll just put
like
the words in your mouth.
Owners,
right.
Hold on. I'll explain. Just like all the other owners, like they're greedy.
Mm-hmm.
They are only about what is beneficial to them, selfish.
Okay.
He doesn't really care about the fans here, even though he'll put up a mirage and say that, I do care. I want baseball to succeed here. No, you want baseball to succeed here to feed your pockets, to feed your ego, and that's what a lot of owners be doing.
Boom.
So that right there is I'm not a big fan of that.
All right, let me ask you this, Jose. You want us to change the show from 9 p.m. to 8 p.m., yes or no?
What you mean?
You want me to change the show time from 9 p.m. on Mondays to 8 p.m.?
Well, if it was totally up to me, I would keep it at 9 p.m. because then at 9 p.m. I can be able to listen in with more time to listen in than at 8, because usually at 8 I'm still working, or I'm still in the middle of a game that I'm working or whatever.
Okay.
That's good feedback, man.
Okay. All right. We will definitely.
You haven't put the kids to bed yet. You haven't had dinner. 9 o'clock is, and you know what? You can sell that to the missus. 9 o'clock.
Yes, you can. All right. So 9 o'clock for one right there. Anything else is on your mind tonight here on the Sports Web?
So the ABS. Let's talk about the ABS.
Oh no, save that till Wednesday. That's what we're going to talk about.
Well, let's get his opinion on this. The ABS. What do you think of that?
I have been very vocal about this on different groups on social media.
Mm-hmm.
As an official myself,
this is not Jose. This is Joe Sue, right? Joe Sway?
Yeah.
Joe Sway.
Yeah.
Yes, Joe Sway. Yeah. Okay. I thought you
I
said
don't know. Jose, Joe Sway. Sorry about that.
I know who this is.
I hope I didn't offend him.
One of my favorite.
I got a comment for Joe Sway and everybody else here. You ready? I'm going to tell you how cheap Stu is. Okay. Everybody remember Brett Phillips? He was a fan favorite here.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
This owner, you're not going to believe this
now. By the way,
huh?
He's a pitcher now.
No, he can pitch, but he's still a position player, and he's back in the minors again. I know the young man very well, but anyway, long story short, they came out with his bobblehead when he was with the Rays.
True.
And the bobblehead night was going to be 2 weeks away. They spent $50,000 for all these bobbleheads to give to the fans. They had every intention on cutting him, and they stopped cutting him. They stopped from cutting him until they actually gave his bobbleheads away.
Yep.
And then the day after, they released them.
Yep.
I just want you to let that sink in. The bobbleheads cost $50,000. Buddy, that is one cheap owner, okay? I mean, that's just horrible. You waited to cut the guy and release him because you had an investment for bobbleheads. It's just ridiculous. I mean, I've never heard of such a thing.
Well, I mean, this is a guy during a middle of a playoff push decided to put a banner on there about a separate or sister city plan with Montreal to take the focus off of this Rays team and what they did that year. I mean, they just kill momentum all the time. They're doing it this year. It's a shame because we should be talking about Josh Lowe. We should be talking about possibly Brandon Lau being able to stay healthy and be productive. And of course, you know, some of the moves that they've been able, Junior Caminero, which is exciting. Eloy Jimenez. All right.
My boy. Mr.
Yes.
Now, Jose, before you hang up, and I appreciate you calling in, how many games will the Tampa Bay Rays win this year? And don't give me some outrageous number. Be realistic, please.
Okay. I will go with, I would say around 85. I'll take the safe bet and say 85.
Okay.
That's a safe bet.
If the pitching stays healthy, especially in the rotation, if the bullpen can step up, and I like this Uceda kid, but he kind of fell off at the end of last year, especially with the dust up that they had against the Phillies. Kind of affected him in his performance. I hope he can come back and bounce back. The lineup in the offense is always going to be a question mark. I'll be interested to see what Eloy Jimenez can do with this lineup.
Let me tell you something. You get him on grass, and I'm telling you now, you can put him 2, 3, 4, or 5 in that lineup. And all I'm going to tell you is this: hold on. And I mean, hold on. He will hit if he has to hit in that little dinky park in Tampa. Oh boy, that's all I'm going to tell you. Oh boy,
that's what
that is one hell of a hitter. Hey man, thank you so much for calling in. That was great.
Thank you, Josue. Appreciate you. Use that second call, right, my friend?
All right.
Who was that just popped in our back room?
Well, we got Jim Melvin coming on, former St. Pete Times sports designer there, giving his story about what he's coming up with. We'll get Leo out of here really quick. I want to go to this, and then we'll get out to the comments. I don't want to neglect the web heads once again, but the combine is starting tomorrow. Already we have
NFL, baby.
Yeah, already have players coming out saying they're not going to throw, namely Shador Sanders. We have Abdul Carter, who will not be working out because he has not been cleared yet, according to Drew Rosenhaus, agent, which, say whatever you want to about him. Is this a deterrent, Leo word, of drafting somebody in the first round, or do you really care? It's all about the pro day when it comes down to it. The combine is just overrated, in your opinion.
Well, let's be honest. All the combine is spring break for a coaching staff. And we've already seen there's usually one that's going to get a DUI or something. Well, somebody, I think it's saying somebody assaulted a police officer. And again, when you let the guys off the reservation and they got too much firewater, then it gets ugly. I'm going to be honest with you. If I'm an agent, my guy isn't working out, period, at the combine, because there is nothing there on the field that relates to any type of football.
Zero.
Nothing.
They have enough film on them, right, Leo? I mean, why would they do that? If I was Shador Sanders and I was all the top prospects, the only thing I would do to show up to the combine is to be able to speak and articulate some of the answers that they're going to ask me. That's the only thing I would do. And if you want to see me play, you come to my pro day. You've got enough tape on the games that I played. There is nothing. The only thing that the only risk, the only reward is the reward you're going to get to watch to see me. I'm a man with all the risk. I could blow a hamstring out, and I went from a top 10 pick to not getting picked in the draft. I mean, there's zero reason for that for those young men to go out there and have to show their talents and their skills in the pro day. It's a great thing to do because everybody talks about it worldwide, but no, I couldn't do it.
Let's go out to the phone lines here.
When I sat there and I watched a catching drill where they're throwing the guy 3 balls in 1 round, I'm going, no, this is a fiasco. I agree with you wholeheartedly. The only thing that come out of that combine is when you sit down with that guy on a whiteboard and say, okay, here's
what do you see?
What do you see? What do I find out? I can't open up his chest and see what that Valentine does, but I can get and watch 12, 13, 14, or 15 games of film. If a scout came back to me and I'm the owner and said, we need to move up in the draft because of what this guy did at the combine, I would fire the guy on the spot. I would fire him.
Wow.
I said, wait a second. You're telling me that you're just throwing away 12 weeks of film for a guy that does 20-minute workout? No.
Well, come to mind, Mike Mamula.
Anthony Richardson. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, Mike Mamula also, and then
how about Anthony Richardson? How about everybody? Everybody made him a top 5 pick.
I did. We won that bet.
Right?
Remember?
No, I understand that, but is he a top 5 quarterback? That's all. Is he truly a top 5 player?
No.
This is why you don't.
Let me go out to the phone lines here. Let's go out to the bodyguard of the Berg, Mr. Ralph Williams. Ralph, welcome to the Evolution.
Ralph.
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's going on? Well, good,
Ralphie,
buddy.
how are you, sir? Thanks for calling in.
Oh, I'm doing real good. Hey, you guys think you got a bad down there with your owner in the race? How about taking Bob Cutting up here with the Pirates?
Well, here's
I'll trade you now.
Here's the perfect example of what it means, and I'll go full screen on this because Ralph is exactly right. The Pittsburgh Pirates, who have some history and won a World Series a long time ago. We Are Family in 1979 there. Didn't think I remember. I do. But they got a new stadium, and they have not been as competitive as advertised, wherein every owner goes, well, this is the reason why you get a new stadium, because you got more revenue, and we're going to be more competitive, and we're going to spend. And it doesn't always work out like that. The Florida Marlins called. They said, what were you talking about? Because we got a new stadium, and then you re-signed a Mike Stanton, and then you proceeded to trade him and dump every marketable player a couple years later. And what you found out, basically.
Oh, and another fan base that can't fill up a stadium, and they're in even a bigger market than us. But just saying. But
they're also in a terrible location. And the point is that it was a bad deal from the very get-go. It's a bad location, my friend. Go down there and look at it.
I've been to that stadium. Has anybody seen that facility? It's absolutely amazing.
But it's a bad location. And that's what Major League Baseball is looking at. But the point is that just because you get a new stadium doesn't necessarily guarantee you that success. So, Ralph, what else?
Yeah, well, Bob Nutting here, and I'll explain something to you. Last year, Rowdy Tellez needed 2 games to get his $200,000 bonus. They cut him. Michael A. Taylor, $200,000 bonus, 2 games. They cut him. Okay. Bob Nutting has done all this stuff. He has gotten rid of some great players over the years that we've had here. And here's the thing here. A lot of people don't notice, but Skeens signed a 5-year contract. They tried to extend it even further than that. Skeens turned them down.
Of course.
Jared Jones did the same thing. Okay. So they know what this is all about. They're going to ride after 5 years, and they're going to go. Because I don't see these guys staying here as long as Bob Nutting is the owner of this team. And this team was atrocious, but I don't know. This year they have a chance. Their starting pitching don't look too bad. And they just got that Haney guy from Texas. They just got him. And so, I mean,
Pittsburgh, let me tell you something. There's nothing wrong with what Pittsburgh did, the way they signed these people to very affordable contracts, very good pitchers. And you know what? If they're not doing very well, but let's just say Skeens is having a good year, that's an affordable contract that's very lucrative that you're going to get a ton of talent coming back. A ton of talent will be coming back.
That is the main problem with all this talk of, affordable contract and teams, selling all pitchers. That's the reason why you don't have a fan base in Pittsburgh. It's the reason why you don't have a fan base here in Tampa.
Yeah, they got more of a fan base up there.
Well, you got 2 or 3 years with the guy, and then you're trading him off for prospects. It's a perpetual rebuild all the time when it comes to being a Rays fan and somewhat of a Pirates and a Marlins fan. Fans don't like that. They don't want the business of baseball. They don't care about that stuff. They don't care about prospects. What they care about is winning and keeping your stars intact and going out there and making the necessary moves in free agency and also at the trading deadline. What else, Ralph?
You know what, guys? I'm sorry to cut this short, but I have to go because Mr. Cody Rhodes is getting ready to talk. So.
All right, my friend. Get out of here. We'll see you on
Ralphie, be good, brother.
All right. We'll go out and read the comments in just a moment. But, Leo, I know you're on a pitch count here. Give me some final thoughts on the combine coming. What position what position are you looking for with this Bucs? Is it edge rusher? Is it linebacker? Is it cornerback? Are you looking forward to seeing with this combine coming up this week?
Peter, I cut my teeth as a scout with Carmen Perone, who was the head scout with the New Orleans Saints. And he knocked into my skull one thing that you got to remember. You work from the ball out.
Yeah.
That's what you need. This team, Vita Vea is the linchpin. Now you got to find a couple edge rushers. You got to find offensive linemen because you just don't have enough of them.
Yeah.
And again, look at this is a copycat league. Look at what the Eagles do, right? They get the biggest, fastest, strongest, meanest guy to play in the trenches, and that covers up a lot of sins. That's what you need to do. You can have the greatest scheme in the world, like Kansas City, but if you can't keep them monsters coming on your quarterback, and I'm looking at the Texas Tech game, and there's Patrick Mahomes sitting right next to the bench, and I'll tell you what, he must be nice that he's not. He's probably looking for some of the Eagles guys coming at him now. So it's kind of crazy.
Buddy, I could tell you one thing I loved that, and it's a great comparison, Leo. Patrick Mahomes was looking over there going, I want my mama. That's what he was doing in that game.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Hey, we'll talk baseball on Wednesday because I'm hoping we have Rob Creed on, who covers Major League Baseball for us, and Mitch Gross, who is an umpire. And I'll tell you what, I thought Josue was getting ready to talk about that. The umpires hate this thing coming in.
Well, Josue is actually an umpire himself, so we'll have to get his thoughts on that. We always enjoy his thoughts and his interaction, if you will, on the evolution.
Yes. Hey, man, I appreciated his input on what he thought and why he wanted him in Tampa, but the reality is it's just closer for him. That's what it is.
A lot of people feel that way, Harry.
Well, I understand that, but ask the same question to the people in Pinellas County.
Sure, go for it. All right, Leo, appreciate the time, my friend. All right,
Leo, be good, brother.
All right, good stuff there.
And there were two.
And I know you are kind of. Do you want to stay around a little bit? Read these.
No, buddy, I'm on a pitch count myself.
All right, give me some final thoughts here on the evolution.
Final thoughts?
Yes.
I would have loved to have been able to talk a little bit more football, but we had to talk about one selfish owner, Mr. Stu himself.
Yes.
Hey, listen, the Rays are going to be just fine. If they make a couple of acquisitions and they come out of the gates early, they're going to have a really good season. But the reality is too many teams in the East have gotten better, a little bit quicker, and a little bit more than what the Rays have been. Not saying they're not going to be competitive. And my other final thoughts, my boy, Mr. Joey Kriebel, let's have a good season this year. Let's see if you can get stuck up there. In K9 down there in Miami, stay good and be nice to your mom down there.
Well, we need to get Joey Kriebel on. We need to get Roberto Hernandez on.
I can get Roberto on if you'd like.
Let's do it. Let's do it every week. Let's talk baseball on this show because there he goes. You don't talk nothing but Buccaneer football and football. You should talk baseball.
Is there anything to talk about?
Oh, there's plenty of things.
Let the season start before we start talking about baseball. We haven't even made a move. But final thoughts, Peter, really, thank you so much for having me on. I'm going to let you go ahead and get to it. Again, thank you for everybody that goes and makes the comments, even the rude ones like Cameron Decker. I'm glad you're getting daddy issues because you're sitting there watching me. I don't know what that means, but it really kind of gives me the creeps, bro. Just letting you know that's kind of creepy. But as I always say, as Harry the Greek, keep your bets low and your returns high. We'll talk to you later. Thanks a lot.
All right, good stuff there, Harry the Greek, professional handicapper extraordinaire. We appreciate the time, my friend. All right. All right, good stuff there. So let's come back here. We'll go out to Jim Melvin in just a moment. I want to read these comments, so stand by. I see you in the green room there. We're going to introduce you and your story and some of the things that you have to talk about here on The Evolution. Always enjoy a great story when it comes to the sports web. Let's go out to Sitting Here. Go Bucks. Let's go out to Sitting again. We really need to focus on getting a defensive back. That was the main question. Is it defensive back? Is it edge rusher? Is it linebacker? What are you looking forward to seeing in this combine this week? Thank you, Sitting, for that. Evening, Peter and crew first. Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's go out to Bobby Rains. Any update on the stadium? It's been going on for 20 years, Bobby. We just gave that with the great JP Peterson. Once again, tune in to his show tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 12 noon here on Facebook and YouTube and other platforms. Looking forward to the combine in Indy this week, hoping to see edge rushers and defensive tackles. Thank you, KR. Let's go out to Christopher Cole. Evening, everyone. Evening to you, my friend. Let's go out to Tim. Good evening, Peter. Good evening to you. All right. Remember, Facebook stars are open and YouTube super chats. If you love the content, appreciate it. Going to be very interesting who is buying the Rays. Absolutely. Let's go out to Christopher Cole. Let's go Bucks, Cubs, and Lightning, and WWE. Of course, Turnbuckle Talk, 10:30 with Ralph Williams, Mark Mancini on Wednesday night. Tune in at 10:30. By the way, The Rock, the final boss, coming back, facing Cody Rhodes. We'll see if he faces Cody Rhodes, but the stare down, the promo of saying, I don't want your title, I want your soul. Say whatever you want to. 8 would be great. Rays 80 wins and fourth, Bobby says. I was going to ask you if we're going to change the time of the show. That's also the question of the night. Some people like 9, some people like 8. I'll take it into consideration at this point. And the reason why is, again, I'm trying to be considerate. I do have roommates. I don't want to wake them up. They say my voice is too loud. So would 8 be helpful for you guys? Would you like 8 o'clock, or would you like to keep it at 9? The biggest question for the Rays is if they can stay healthy. Absolutely agree with that. Let's go on to Christopher Cole. With the amount of money the Dodger payroll is, they should win 135 games. Doesn't always work out like that. Hello, guys, says Ralph Williams. 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. works. Sorry, I can't do 7 p.m., guys. I get up at 5:30. I have to do research. Yes, I do research. Yes, I produce and do all this myself. If I had a staff of like 3 or 4 people, then maybe. I see you, my bro. Thank you, Robert. Appreciate you. Let's go out to Jim. Rays need to sell to an owner who cares. Agree. Rays need to be in Tampa. The population around the Trop is the lowest in Major League Baseball. Good comment. Mike D. Roche. Hello, Greek and Peter. I'm still battling. What he's battling is cancer. We are here with you. Keep on battling. We will keep you in the know when it comes to your Tampa Bay Buccaneers, my friend. You just keep on fighting, okay? You keep on fighting, having that Canadian spirit. We love you, brother. Let's go out to Jim. Rays would have 25 plus in Tampa. Jim, again, I wouldn't go to more games with new owners. I could go to 10 a year. If it was in Tampa, I go to 40 plus. Excellent. Good. Rays will win 90. I like that, Jim. I say 92 wins for the Tampa Bay Rays in 2025. And once again, we'll revisit this question here in a couple weeks after spring training. 83 wins, says Christopher Cole. Joe Sue says, hey, Peter, what's going on, boss? Jim, with our pitching and the offense coming together, we'll win 90. I like it, Jim. Joe Sue says, lack of mass transit in the Bay and the way complicated this, it's not the same here. You know I'm right. Bolts 5-game winning streak. McDavid is in town tomorrow. We will definitely talk some hockey here with Shooter and Stash coming. Absolutely the Lightning right now on a tear. Let's go out to Jim here. The people in Pinellas don't go to games. Jim, Tampa would hold 25 a game and top 35 to 40 Kansas City Chiefs. Fan hi from Lansasson, Tasmania, Australia. Appreciate you. Let's go out. How's the weather today? It's been raining all day long. Thank you for asking. Christopher Cole took us right an hour to get to the Trop from Bartow, Florida. Bobby says dog track would be a legitimate site. My girlfriend is Buck. She's from the UK. Very cool. Bobby says 9 p.m. Jim says Chandler Simpson needs to play this year, averaging 100 stolen bases a year in the minors. He's one of those guys you got to keep an eye on. If he can play defense, which we know the Rays love, and he can get on base, he can definitely steal some bases. That's for sure. Cam says, where the heck? I'm not reading that. Peter's girlfriend is upset. She can no longer play in women's sports. I don't know what you're talking about. The Greek looks like a koala bear. Ralph says, let Tyler Glass now walk. Cam, is that Mark Cuban? No. Combine is where the trade talks happen. Absolutely. Reports are that Matthew Stafford wants to be paid $50 million a year. Are you serious?
This guy sucks.
At his age, forget about it. Definitely trade him. Peter Stu says hello. Cam, the Greek is making me start to have daddy issues. Okay. The Greek with the mustache looks like a well-groomed Albert Einstein. Christopher Cole, Cubs are loading with all the depth all over. Leo Haggerty equals Mark Cuban. Billions of dollars there. Jim says we have plenty of edge rushers, need to get veterans. The youth are youth depth guys. Peter equals Chris. Laugh my ass off. Curtis, will you hold off on the call there? Because I want to go out to Jim here in just a moment. We'll get you on the evolution. Stand by. It's been a long time since we had you on. Did the Greek just rage quit? What do you think about Stafford news about him wanting $50 million a year? Just talked about it. Ridiculous. I'm down for 8 p.m. if that's the move. I'm taking 85. Greek is right. I'm right. Sitton says, I hope so. KR, I got 87 wins for the Rays. The Marine himself, leave it up to you to contribute nothing to the show other than some smart-ass comments and reference about someone being Cam Decker. Buccaneers really need a defensive back. And Bob says, Bobby from Charlotte agrees with the dog track site. Go Rays. And KR says, Stafford is insane. No way. I don't see 50 million. Cam calls the Marine a clown. Be careful with that. Let's go out to this man right here. We'll get this off the screen for just a moment. There we go. We'll go out to my guest here, Mr. Jim Melvin. Welcome to the evolution of sports talk television. An interesting story because I always tell people, somebody's always watching you. You inbox me. You said you've been watching the sports web for how long now? Since the beginning of this?
Yes, that's the beginning. Long time watcher and I'm long time commenter. First time on the show.
I appreciate that. And like I always tell everybody, you never know who's watching. Always continue to do what you do. You've been doing it, my friend, for a long time. In fact, 25 years at the Tampa Bay Times. In fact, you've been behind the scenes here. Let all the webheads know who Jim Melvin is. Once again, welcome to the evolution.
Well, thank you. I'll let you know the context of why I'm here. I'm a Tampa Bay native, not quite. I moved here when I was about 6 years old, and I grew up in the St. Pete area, and I was there for more than 40 years. Went to Lakewood High School, lived in Coquina Key, graduated with a degree in journalism from University of South Florida, and then immediately started at the St. Pete Times and worked there for 25 years, and mostly in the sports department and mostly inside. I was mostly a designer. In fact, I was the design director. So all of those big, huge special sections back in the glory days in the 1980s and 90s and 2000s, before newspapers started to, local newspapers started to deteriorate a little bit. Those 60-page special sections I was the lead designer for. I worked with all the big names back then, from that position, Hubert Mizell, and you can name a bunch of people, Dave Shiver, Tom Zucco, and the list would go on. Again, I worked on the inside, but I've been a long-time Bucs fan from 1976. I mean, I was eventually part of the coverage of the early Bucs years when Doug Williams started to come on, and just have a long history in Tampa Bay. I now live in upstate South Carolina, but I still consider myself a Florida boy.
Well, you always are. No matter where you're at, you're always a Florida boy, right? I always say I'm Florida man because I've been here all my life. I've liked the Bucs since I was 8 years old. I'm now 46, so that'll go ahead and age me out a little bit. But you talked about this, and we were talking off air. You said, not only the Tampa legends there, Mizell, Gary Shelton, of course, Stroud still doing his thing there, but you've also won, and you're kind of trying to be humble, but we're not humble on the sports web. You won a ton of awards for designs there. Talk about that and what you did all those years with the St. Pete Times, now the Tampa Bay Times.
Yeah, so I started in 1979, basically fresh out of college. And I was lucky to start at the Times because it was just where I lived. At that point, the Times was always considered to be a top 20 newspaper. It had a very large circulation. The Sunday circulation, I believe, was around 550,000. We had a huge newsroom of 500 or 600 people. And money back then with newspapers in terms of print advertising flowed very heavily. So you had large staffs, you had large news holes, and you just had resources galore. So what you see now, I mean, there's still very talented people at the now Tampa Bay Times. Obviously, Rick Stroud, who I worked with for a long time, is still there. Mark Topkin, big time baseball guy, still there. But back then, maybe the talent wasn't superior, but there was just more of us. And so I won, I believe 28 awards for my design in 25 years, and 13 of those were big time national awards, like going up against AP and New York Times and all the huge newspapers. So yeah, I did win a lot of awards. Our design was nationally recognized, not just because of me, but because of the St. Petersburg Times. And we had I remember when the Bucks won the Super Bowl, and also when we hosted the Super Bowl in Tampa, we would have sections of 60 plus pages, and we would have dozens of special sections leading up to the live coverage. We might have 16 just photo pages, and I don't know. I don't live in the Tampa Bay area anymore. I moved up to upstate South Carolina a few years ago, so I don't see the newspaper now. But again, there's very talented people there who I respect, but I think it's a little bit of a different animal than it was a few years ago.
Why is it such a different animal in your opinion?
Newspapers were one of the industries that sort of got crushed back in the around 2005, 2006, when the economy started to get really wonky, in combination with the internet growing and sort of taking over, so that people getting their news from the online as opposed to walking out to your driveway with your dog and picking up your newspaper. It used to be that's what you do. You sit down with a cup of coffee and you go through the Sunday paper, and the Sunday paper might be 200 pages of things. It could take you half an hour to read the comics. It's not that way anymore, and it never will be again for a lot of reasons. But it was a lot of fun back then.
Definitely was. We're on with Jim Melvin, former St. Pete Times, Tampa Bay Times journalist, novelist. How many books have you also written, sir?
I've written 10 published novels and 2 books. One of the reasons you and I spoke originally was my latest book I'll hold it up here. It's a little memoir called The Adventures of a Florida Boy.
Love it.
And it's about my growing up in the 1960s in Coquina Key on Tampa Bay on the water, and just how different things were then. And I'm not one of the type people that says everything was better back then. I mean, some things are better now, some things were better then, but it really is a cliche, but a true cliche, that back then, kids my age, you could be 7, 8, 9 years old, and you were running all over the place, riding your bike 2 or 3 miles, and we did just crazy stuff. We swam out in the middle of Tampa Bay. We climbed trees. We dug forts. There was no smartphones. There were no computers. There were no video games. When we played, we walked out the door, and a stick was a sword, and a garbage can lid was a shield, and we just played all day long outdoors. And it's a different lifestyle. And I raised 5 daughters, and even in the early 90s when I was doing that, if they rode half a block away, I was having a heart attack. And back when I was a kid, I would ride downtown on my bike when I was like 9 years old.
Nice. Good stuff. I love it. We'll get back to that book in a moment, because I know you want to talk more about that, but I kind of want to talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Take me back to 1976. Take me back to the excitement in the Bay Area. Kind of give us a glimpse of what that was, or how it was back then.
That's a great question, actually. In my memory, and I think this is true, getting the Bucks in Tampa Bay was much simpler and less of a big deal than getting the Rays. The Rays, remember, there was all kinds of trouble involved in that before we finally got them, and for a while it looked like we weren't even going to. The Bucks just sort of seamlessly, in my memory, again, sort of seamlessly just came in. And there's the Tampa Bay Bucks, and they go out and they lose their first 26 games.
Yes.
And then in '78, Williams comes in and starts to show a little life, especially later in the season. All of a sudden, here comes 1979 and 5-0 on Sports Illustrated, and the excitement began. For me as a journalist, of course, that was very interesting. For me as a fan, and when you work inside of a newsroom as opposed to being a reporter, say, who actually covers the Bucks, most of the reporters I know, like say Rick Strab, who covers the Bucks, it really is a job, and you're not really a fan. But when you're inside the newsroom, you can sort of retain some of that fandomness. So as a fan in 1979, it was just extraordinary, and it was so much fun. And then it went from there, and then of course there was the Tony Dungy era, which was also a lot of fun. I met him in person one time. That was great for me, and but there's been also, as you know, long stretches of years where, oh my gosh, there's more misery than joy, but the joy is still worth it.
It is definitely, Jim. You're exactly right about that. I mean, take me back to 79. How improbable was that turnaround? Because at the time, a lot of people don't understand this or know this. They always equate the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with 0-26, but when they turned it around in 1979, before Carolina and Jacksonville eclipsed that record, they were the fastest team to get to the playoffs. Talk about how improbable it was in 1979, and what was the feeling like around Tampa Bay when that was going on?
It was improbable. You started to see signs again in the last, I think, 5 games of 1978 with Doug Williams. That was his rookie year, I believe.
Correct.
Yeah, and then in 1979, you're 1-0. That's great. You're 2-0. That's great. And then you're 5-0. And I still remember the cover of Sports Illustrated was, unbeaten, untied, and unbelievable. And it sort of was unbelievable. They ended up 10-6, which I guess means they went 5-6 the rest of the season. And I was at the Eagles game, which was the first playoffs game, and they beat the Eagles really good, and then they lost to the Rams, I believe, in that 9-3 game.
Yeah.
And then in 1980, I remember Len Dawson coming on TV and calling out that the Bucs were going to win the Super Bowl in 1980. They did not. And what was it again? Till it wasn't. I can't remember when they next.
Well, it was 1997, of course, and
you're right, 97.
It was reminiscent, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Because Tony Dungy comes in, and I believe that team goes 1-8, and then they finish 6-10. And I always remember the game against the Green Bay Packers and Brett Favre, where Warren Sapp and that defense really shows that they mean business, and it carries over the momentum to 1997, where they play Detroit and their playoff game at the Big Sombrero. If people are not familiar with going to a game at the Big Sombrero, what was that like?
It was, well, there were a lot of things about that stadium that were just not anything compared to the modern stadiums. I mean, it was all cement bench seating, and you were crammed in, and the lines in the bathroom were 50 people long. But that stadium could get really loud. In the strike season, which I think was 82, they were 2-4, I believe, and had to win their final 3 games to make the playoffs, and they won all 3 at home. And I was at all 3 of those games, and I think to this day my hearing is still affected by it, because that is the loudest I've ever heard, including much louder than any game I've ever been to at Raymond James.
Wow. Great stuff there. I want to go out to Bob here. He says $79, 3-0 over Kansas City. Hello, playoffs. Were you at that game when it was raining? And what do you remember about that? Because it was sloppy. And of course, there was some worry there, because you said it best. The Bucs started out 5-0. Take me back to that game if you were there.
I was not at that game. I wish I had been. I was at the previous one, but I watched it on TV, of course. Who was it? One of their players was basically running for the winning touchdown and just fumbled the ball without even being touched. Was that? I can't remember who that was, but otherwise they would have won that game.
Very good. All right. So going back to Tony Dungy, you talked about him. I've met him a couple times, got a chance to interview him on the sports web, went out to a bookstore with him and his wife. Always great to interview, always articulate. It was so funny. And the first time I met him, he said the one thing he had to learn is he had to kind of dumb it down, because when he was first starting out with NBC, he wanted to be very complicated with the X's and O's, and they said, no, you gotta speak to the public here. You gotta speak to the football fan. And I always remember, reading his book, and how he got his interview with Rich McKay and how everything is going wrong, but he wanted to be on time for it. He was on time for it. Of course, he was the third choice, and he was the right choice. Talk about the Tony Dungy era with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and what do you remember from that?
Well, I met him just one time. In fact, I mentioned Hubert Mizell. Hubert was our columnist, and Hubert was one of these people who literally and figuratively was larger than life. I think he was bigger than Vita Vea, but he knew everybody and everybody knew him. I mean, people like Pat Summerall and everybody knew Hubert. And Hubert had a good heart, and knew that people like me who, worked inside the building and worked till 1 a.m. in the morning with your heart pounding on deadline, just trying to get the paper out, didn't necessarily get to beat Tony Dungy's of the world all the time, like someone like Hubert did.
Yeah.
And he brought Tony Dungy into the newsroom and purposely brought him up to me and had me chat with him for a little bit. I really appreciated that. Just so it was, and Tony Dungy is who he is. He's just a wonderful human being. His problem with the Bucs was he just could never have an offense. I mean, his defenses were incredible, but he just never, no matter what he seemed to do, no matter what offensive coordinator, he just couldn't get an offense, and that's why he lost the job.
Where were you? I want to take you to a couple events here because we always talk about these events. Hugh Culverhouse, where were you when he said he got left at the altar for Bill Parcells at first? And I believe that's 91. And then the other one is, where are you when John Gruden is announced suddenly, where the Bucs give up 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks to secure him as the next head coach of the Bucs and eventually go on to win Super Bowl 37? Tell me where you're at, Jim.
Well, to answer your question, I was in the newsroom, and for me at that point, that was my job. It was like, get ready. We have 10 or 15 pages we have to fill. We have 4 reporters covering. We got 5 photographers. We have to make sure everything comes together and looks great. Parcells, from a Bucs fan point of view, was a heartbreaker because I really believe had he come, he would have done extremely well. Gruden, as we all know, was the perfect fit at the perfect time for that specific little stretch of time.
Yeah.
I mean, he did well. He did better over the next few years, maybe than people give him credit. And he had some bad breaks. That one year where everything just completely fell apart when Derek Brooks got injured. We were really excited about Gruden, of course, but I'm there as a football fan. I'm not the type who likes to give away 2 1s and 2 2s or anybody. But Parcells was really devastating because, again, it was so exciting and it seemed like it was going to happen, and then it didn't, and then it didn't again, and that's a shame. I mean, it's just like it was a shame that they didn't re-sign Doug Williams, and the great running back who they didn't, the number 1 pick, Bo Jackson. That was huge. Those are things that could set a team back for a decade, and sure enough, they did.
Well, you experienced Super Bowl 37. You talked about Parcells twice. You talked about Gruden. Now you look, I know you're not in the Tampa Bay area. You're somewhere else. But what did you think of the Super Bowl 55 there, Tom Brady coming to town? I couldn't believe it at the time. I know we were going through a pandemic. I almost felt like it was going to be Bill Parcells all over again. I almost felt like it was going to be Chip Kelly all over again. It was going to be Steve Spurrier and Jimmy Johnson, especially Bill Parcells, that Brady would, basically kind of opt out and change his mind. What did you think about Tom Brady going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Could you believe that in your lifetime?
Oh, man, I was so excited about that. And at that point, I no longer worked in the sports department, so I could be a true fan and, and not feel any journalistic guilt about it.
Yeah.
My wife will tell you that I am the type of fan who gets pretty upset. I get really worked up at games. The Bucs throw a touchdown pass, but it's called back with a holding penalty. I'm like running around tearing the house apart. I'm that kind of a fan. So I tend to, a lot of the times I live in the mountains down this beautiful area, and lots of times my wife and I will just go for a hike while the Bucs game is on. And then when it comes back, if they win, I watch the recording. Of course, when they were in the Super Bowl, I couldn't do that. I had to watch that live. And it was one of those rare games where the Bucks took control and never really lost it. And so I just stood in front of the TV for 3 hours and basically danced around like a lunatic and just had the time of my life. So, yeah, but when Brady first came, my first thought was, this is Tom Brady, but when he comes to the Bucks, he's not going to make it happen. And when you've been a fan of the Bucks since 1976, one of the things that you're not used to seeing is an offense that actually flows and does things the way good offenses do. The defense, of course, is terrific, but the offense is always terrible, always terrible, always terrible. One first, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. And I'm thinking same thing's happening with Brady. Well, Brady comes in and suddenly we've got an offense. He's completing passes. We're getting third downs. We're scoring touchdowns on opening drives, and it just went from there. And his last season wasn't quite as strong, but overall, I've become a massive fan of Tom Brady, the football player, and I'll never forget that stretch of Bucks history.
Take me back to a moment where you forget you're working and you kind of you turn into that fan and you kind of hold yourself back. I mean, how tough is it? Because you said it, and I feel the same way. I'm in the press box. I'm covering the Bucks. I've been a fan since I was 8 years old. But there's a part you have to do it. You can't lose your mind. You can't get excited. I know there was a moment this year when Mike Evans gets 1,000 yards that everybody in that press box, no matter who they're working for, turns into a kid at the candy store. So when's that moment for you?
Well, the biggest one was the one you would probably guess if you were to sit down and try to guess, and it was Rondé Barber. I was in the newsroom, and we were watching that Eagles game. And even though they were ahead 20-10, there was still this kind of worry. I mean, there was a few minutes left in the game. If they scored a touchdown, it's 2017. Uh-oh, here we go. And Rondé just makes that interception of a lifetime. And there were about 10 of us standing in front of the TV, and including a couple of the biggest people in the newsroom, the most important people in the newsroom who weren't even in sports, who were just over there watching.
Yeah.
And I jumped and screamed so loud that I scared the heck out of half of them. They all went practically falling out of their backs.
Love it.
I screamed partially, 90% because I was a fan and 10% because now I could go do my job because I knew how the game was going to end.
Love it. And I'll tell you right now where I'm watching the game with my family, and we've seen it before. We've seen Donovan McNabb. It's been a house of horrors, if you will, when it comes to the Bucks going up there, the Philadelphia and the vet. And when he makes that interception, I knew it was a touchdown. I'm running out the door. It is cold for some reason during that time. I think it's like January 23rd. It is cold. I don't care. I'm tearing my shirt off. I'm throwing it down. I'm running down the street saying the Bucks are going to the Super Bowl. Because you then knew as a Bucks fan and knew watching this team that if they got over the top over the Philadelphia Eagles, eventually they were going to win that Super Bowl. And certainly they did. And Super Bowl 37, we're on with Jim Melvin. Here's some great memories. Talk about this memoir that you have, the Florida boy. I love it. I think it's great. I'm a Florida man, Florida boy myself. I've been here all my life. Talk about this and where people can kind of pick it up and look at it and get your story, because you're a great storyteller. I can tell you work for the St. Pete Times and the Tampa Bay Times. I love the memories here. We definitely got to get you back here on the Evolution, but talk about this new book that you got.
Well, thank you. I think there's a parallel. You could draw a parallel with this book to sports, because in the real world, maybe you can say this at any point, but it certainly feels that way right now. There's a lot going on, nationally and globally, and our politics are a mess. And, there's just a lot. And then, of course, everyone has their own personal problems. And sometimes you just need sort of a break. And sports can give you that break, especially when your team wins.
Yeah.
This book, this Florida Boy book, is about my memories, probably from between the ages of 8 and about 13 or 14, when I grew up on Kokiniki. My parents had a house on the water, and it was a different time. It was, like I say, literally a typical day, like a Saturday. I would get up and I would throw on a pair of shorts and a t-shirt, and I would race out the door, and I would play until noon, come in, eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, race back out the door, play until dark. We had docks that led out into Tampa Bay, and we would just run out and leap into the water. Who knows, if 10-foot bull sharks were swimming next to us, we didn't care. Current's so strong you didn't even try to swim with them. You would just like let the current carry you where it will until you find it dumped you in a canal somewhere, and then you walk back and do it again. We dug forts in the sand, we climbed trees, we rode our bikes everywhere. And this memoir, a lot of people will write memoirs that, are very, say, difficult about the difficult parts of their lives. My memoir is really very good natured. It's short. It's the kind of thing you can read in 1 or 2 sittings. And it's just a lot of fun, sometimes laugh out loud, certainly warm your heart kind of memories about being a boy growing up in a bygone area, an era that we're never going to see again. Not to say again that everything was better than it is now, but it was certainly different. And my adventures, I still stick in my mind. I would tell my wife, for instance, these stories, and she would say, "You got to write a book. You have to write a book." And so I did.
How hard is it to write all these books? Because you got all these memories, and I know sometimes it's tough for me to sit down. I'm doing research, and you have all these things across your mind, and you're trying to kind of slow down. You're kind of trying to, like, I always think about Michael Jackson. He was like the greatest artist of all time, and he always said, "Music is in my head." Writing is always in your head. Memories are always in your head. How do you slow that down to put that on paper and make it make sense?
Well, you're a professional sportscaster, and what the skills you have carry into that. It's the same thing with writing. If you're a professional writer, there's certain skills that you've learned and that are built into the process. So I could give you technical answers to that. Mainly, it's for someone like me. I mean, to write a novel, you first have to organize it, you have to outline it, and then you have to have the skills, everything from spelling and grammar and punctuation to other skills, literary skills, the literary elements of writing that come together. And then you put yourself on a calendar and you put yourself on sort of a schedule. And for instance, I tend to, when I'm in the middle of writing the first draft of a book, I force myself to write 1,500 words a day at least. And if you do that, next thing you know, you've written 50,000 in a month, and then you've written the first draft in 2 months, and then you spend another month or 2 revising it, and you have a book.
Well, and we just had a sign fall down. You had the Tropicana in the background just fall down. You gotta love that. It's live television here. What's your inspiration for writing this memoir?
Well, my specialty as a novelist is fantasy and epic fantasy, like Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones. I've just always loved that. I'm a big fan of Stephen King, J.R. Tolkien. Even back when I was in high school, when I was a junior in high school, I was one of these kind of rare students. I think rare. I was equally good at math and English, and some people tend to be one or the other. In fact, I have a lot of friends who went in the math direction and made a whole lot more money than I did as a journalist. But I became a fan of Stephen King. He was when he first started to come out, when he wrote his first book, Carrie and stuff. I was there, and I decided I was going to become a best-selling novelist. And I remember telling everybody I was going to make $75 million as a best-selling novelist. And actually, the reason I became a journalist was because I just needed to pay the bills for the first couple of years until my best-selling novel came out. And so I started as a journalist, and I started writing a book. I wrote a book when I was 21 years old, back in 1979, 1980. Had an agent, and it actually wasn't too bad, but it didn't get published. But I wasn't concerned, because most of the time you hear what's really not your first book, it's your second or your third book that hits it big. So I realized, okay, I've written my first book, did well, almost got published, my second book. And then I got married and had kids and raised a family and started working 50 hours a week at a newspaper and had a house and mowed the yard. And 25 years later, there was no second book. And so at that point, we had a house in Florida on a golf course, and it was one of those housing boom eras. And I got really lucky when I sold the house. I made a ton of money on it, and it gave me enough money to take 3 years off from the rat race and write a book and start writing again. And that's when we moved up to upstate South Carolina. We moved into this woods on 20 acres. And I spent 3 years, and all I did was write, and I wrote a 6-book epic fantasy called The Death Wizard Chronicles. And that's where I sort of took off. And from there, I've been writing novels ever since. None of them, they've sold well, but none of them have made me a multimillionaire. So I think maybe there's still hope. But they've done well enough, and certainly I can always look in the mirror and say, you know what, I gave it my best shot.
All right, coming back here to 2025, what do you think the Bucs' biggest need is to get over the top? And I feel like there's a lot of Bucs fans out there that feel like I do, that the championship window is open. So is it edge rusher? Is it linebacker? Would you like them to pursue one of these edge rushers like a Myles Garrett, a Max Crosby, a Trey Hendrickson? What's your biggest need and your opinion for this Tampa Bay Buccaneer team going into 2025?
Well, if you could place the best player, whether it's a draft pick or a veteran, I would go with the cornerback. But I think the Bucs' biggest danger entering this season is the schedule. I look at that schedule and I'm like, I think they could be better, quite a bit better even than they were this past year.
Right.
And not be as good record-wise. And also, they really, I don't know if you'd agree with this, but they had one of those special years on the offensive line where very few injuries. And how many teams get their seasons wrecked just because 2 or 3 offensive linemen go down? If that were to happen this year, they'd be in big trouble. So I tend to be pessimistic with the Bucs because I'm almost like a battered wife in terms of they've let me down so many years, so many times, so many games, hundreds and hundreds of games that I admit I am pessimistic about it. So if they do well, for them to do really well this season, I think a lot of things are going to have to fall into place. And it would start with a shutdown corner. I think a shutdown corner would improve their defensive line, maybe more than a new defensive lineman.
Wow. All right. Good stuff, Jim. And I agree with you on that. We always talk about it. It's a Bucs traumatic stress disorder when it comes to all the years of being a fan and covering this team. Great stuff as always. Go ahead and promote once again what you're doing. Again, it's called The Adventures of a Florida Boy there. Chronicles growing up in Tampa Bay in the 1960s in Coquina Key. Once again, promote this, my friend, and don't be a stranger here on The Evolution.
Yeah. If anyone might be interested, you don't have to be. I'm 67 years old, talking about aging yourself. So if you are that age and you grew up in the Tampa Bay area, you'll love this book. But I think anyone who's looking for something good-natured and kind of simple and just kind of something that's going to lift your spirits, this book will do that for you. And like I say, it's The Adventures. If you go to Amazon.com and type in The Adventures of a Florida Boy, my name, Jim Melvin, that's all you need to do. It's very inexpensive, and it'll be good for a good laugh. Maybe you could call it a beach read. Some of my other books are much deeper and have a lot more going on between the lines. This book is just kind of fun and lighthearted, and I think it'll warm your heart a little bit.
Well, definitely it warmed our heart here on the Sports Web. Love the memories, especially when it comes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers working for the St. Pete Times. I definitely got up on Sunday mornings and had to read the predictions there as a little boy. I remember only 3 TV stations, so it definitely and I remember the designs there. The designs were always top notch, man. I appreciate you as always. Definitely don't be a stranger here on the Sports Web. All right.
Thank you, Peter. That was great being on. I really appreciate it. Enjoy the show.
Absolutely. Appreciate the support as always right there. Jim Melvin, good stuff there. As I was talking, the Tropicana field decided to fall down, so we had to put it back up again. So there you go. We'll come back right there. Open phone lines if you want to call up, talk about any of that. Of course, questions of the night. Would you like to see this show at 8 o'clock instead of 9? How many wins for the Tampa Bay Rays this year? It's been put out there. Third place is the most popular one. Second place, second, of course. First place, not so much. 0% when it comes to last place. How optimistic are you with this Tampa Bay Rays team? How about, are they going to sell Are you believing what J.P. Peterson is putting out there, which he usually is very, very accurate, especially when it comes to the stadium talk? Do you believe that the Tampa Bay Rays and Stu Sternberg will sell to another ownership? And what are you most looking forward to in this NFL Combine when it comes to positions for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Edge rusher, cornerback, linebacker. You ask for phone calls, you get phone calls. Let's go out to Sun Devil Dave. Sun Devil Dave, welcome to the Evolution, my friend.
Great job, buddy.
Thank you. Great job to you.
Hey, I missed. I just caught the tail end of the talk about the book.
Yes,
but it brought up some memories about, I wasn't here in Tampa Bay. I was in Chicago, but I wanted to ask about the 1976 season.
Okay.
They played the AFC West that year.
That is correct. They started out in the AFC.
I was trying to do research for why did they do this? And I kind of went into it. I'm like, well, I guess the NFL, again, this was before streaming and internet, and all they had those days were you were just stuck with your home team,
right?
And that was it. You had no NFL Sunday ticket. You really weren't able to watch any highlights unless you saw what during the game. I mean, so their reasoning, I think, was let's go ahead and promote and get as much exposure we can with these two expansion teams. So they just figured the Bucs would play 13 games. I guess they played 13 games against the AFC that year.
Correct.
And they played one against Seattle, and then they swapped to NFC. They played 13 games in the NFC. That way they get to showcase the teams in every stadium, so to speak, and, kind of promote them in a way. In 1976, that's what you had to do. You had no internet. You had no Instagram. You had no social media.
Yeah, nothing. You didn't even have
an
expansion.
So do you think that was a good idea? Or?
No, it's not a good. It's not a good idea. I mean, they, what they did with those teams, Seattle and Tampa Bay was terrible when it comes to expansion drafts, players being protected. They got the terrible pick of the litter, if you will. They got the dregs of the National Football League. They didn't have an advantage like Carolina or Jacksonville had in those years. So no, it was not. I get what they're trying to do, but it didn't benefit the Bucs. And of course, they had the worst owner, in my opinion, Hugh Culverhouse, besides Stu, because everybody talks about wins when it comes to the Rays, but I just hate the fact that Stu continues to badmouth the Rays fans. I think he's right up there with Hugh Culverhouse, but this guy was a cheapskate. At least you knew with Hugh, you're never going to win because he was going to put all the money in his pocket. He was a terrible owner. Some of the things he did when it came to Doug Williams and Bo Jackson, but it's kind of amazing to sit here and say, even after 0-26, they're able to be one of the fastest teams in NFL history to make it to the playoffs, beat Philadelphia, and be in the NFC Championship game. And as Mom always tells the story, Doug Williams goes out, Leroy Selman goes out. If they don't go out, the Bucs have a chance to beat the Rams.
Right. I didn't realize that it was a third. Yeah, I forgot it was 9. They lost 9-6, right?
9-0.
9-0. Okay.
Yes, a weird score again.
Who was the backup? Who quarterbacked them? Doug Williams.
After Doug went out, I'm trying to even think at this point. You got me on that. I have to
look
do
that research. Up. I can't get on my phone.
It's okay. It's all right.
I would say, just real quick, I'd say I'll go 87 wins for the Rays, and then 8 o'clock sounds good for the start time.
8 p.m. So you're like the 8 p.m. instead of 9?
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with that.
Why?
I mean, I could just, I'm watching Raw, and I'm, Oh, by the way, Liv Morgan and Daddy, Mama Diesel, I call her, Raquel Rodriguez. They won the titles tonight.
All right, so no surprise. And we'll definitely talk about Turnbuckle
I'll talk about that later, but I just wanted to add that on. So another great show.
Thank you. Great job.
And you have a great night tonight.
All right,
Take
man.
care, bud.
Appreciate you.
Bye.
Good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, open phone line. Thanks a lot, Dave. Use that second call if you want to. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. I saw that Curtis called, so let's see if we can get Curtis back on the line here, because I don't want to neglect you guys, but sometimes, I want to make sure I give the guest, enough attention. What's up, Curtis? Welcome to the Evolution, my friend.
What's up, brother?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic. How the hell are you?
Yeah, you know me, man. You're just to keep on doing what we're doing here. Everybody feels like it's the NFL offseason, but this is where we start to work here. Over 350,000 views on Facebook. You heard me. 350,000. So good stuff.
Because because of the whole Matt Stafford and $50 million shit.
Well, yeah, it's
Listen,
crazy. $50 million Stafford wants.
And I understand that. But I would rather pay him 50 than pay Dak 60.
How Stafford's up there in age, though. I don't understand paying Dak 60 at all.
Okay, but hold on, bro. At least Stafford plays. How many games has Dak missed in the last 3 seasons?
It's a good point. It's definitely a good point. And it definitely got a point there. Definitely no.
Like, come on, bro. The best ability is availability.
Right. I'll agree with that. Yes.
Exactly. So it's just like, don't get me wrong. Stafford is not worth $50 million, but you're paying Dak $60 million, and this dude can't even play a whole season.
The quarterback market is out of just whack at this point. I
Yes,
mean,
it's
Kirk
crazy.
Cousins, you got the greatness of Kirk Cousins coming off an injury. He
Kirk
was
Cousins.
terrible for the Atlanta
Cousins.
Falcons. You got Stafford, you got Dak. Ridiculous.
Kirk Cousins has robbed the NFL.
Yes.
Can you think about all the contracts he's had? The ones with the Redskins, the ones with the Vikings, and now the one with Atlanta.
I agree, and he may be cut. He may end up with the San Francisco 49ers or end up with somebody else, as crazy as that sounds.
Yeah, how you been, bro?
I'm good, man. I'm hanging in there. You had the scare a couple weeks ago with vertigo, but I feel strong. I feel good.
Listen, I had the flu last week, and I was in the hospital. And
Woof.
I was terrified, bro.
Brother, I'm glad you're good, man. I didn't hear from you, so I kind of got worried. We got to get our Curtis here a couple nights a week here on Monday and Wednesday night. Let me ask you, man. You want me to move this show to 8 p.m. or you want me to keep it at 9?
Keep it at 9. I'm
All
at
right.
work usually. I'm at work usually at 9.
Okay.
So I throw my headphones on and just listen to you guys, man.
All right. 9 o'clock seems like it's winning here. We'll see. 8:30 may be a compromise at this point. We'll see.
Are you ready for baseball season?
I'm ready for baseball season. I'm actually excited about this Rays team. As crazy as it sounds, I've already said 92 wins. I love their pitching staff. I get it. They have some questions when it comes to the lineup. Can they stay healthy? Overall, can they stay healthy? But I'm excited about them playing in Tampa. They're right down the street from me at this point, and I'm going to try to get to some games.
Well, you know what? I'm down the street from you, so let me know. We can go together, bro.
Let's do it, man. We definitely should get together sometime, get all the web heads together, have some chicken wings, and meet up. You guys are definitely the lifeblood.
I'm ready for Elimination Chamber on Saturday, me and my sons.
Oh, yeah. We'll definitely talk about turnbuckle talk here on Wednesday night, but a lot of things to unpack from that.
Definitely.
All right, let me ask you another question here. I know you're a Red Sox fan, so we'll stay away from baseball. We'll go to football.
You know me. I'm open to anything.
NFL Combine is starting tomorrow. What's the position you're most looking forward to seeing with this Tampa Bay Buccaneer team? Is it edge rusher, linebacker, or defensive back?
I don't care. Whatever's going to help this team.
Okay.
Whatever's going to help this team.
Okay.
You could use help at any of those positions.
Mm-hmm.
And I want greatness. I mean, that's what we all want. You don't want to do what you did. Oh shit! You don't want to do what you did with Devin White,
right?
And spend the 5th pick. And then you don't even get a new contract with this guy.
Right.
I probably like it. Yeah. So it's like we want staples. We want guys that are going to. You know what? I'm happy with a guy to outperform his contract.
Okay.
Give me a guy that's going to outperform his contract.
Okay.
Like these guys are getting greater and greater every year. And I love to see a good defensive end, but I also love to see, when is the last time we had a great corner in Tampa? Darrell Revis?
Well, Darrell wasn't even that good. I mean, honestly, he was coming off the injury, and they weren't even using him right. They weren't playing him as a man-to-man. They were playing him in zone. That Greg Schiano terrible defense they played him at. So the last time he had a great corner, I mean, Rondé Barber, I think definitely comes to mind. I think Brian Kelly comes to mind. I think, Donnie Abraham going way back there.
Talib had a couple of good years.
Definitely Talib. Again, though, I think it's all predicated on the pass rush. For me, it's edge rusher. I'm looking at Mike Green in this draft. there's some other guys. Maybe
I
he'll
mean,
do. Go ahead.
I would love for us to get the kid from Penn State, but I don't know if he's gonna be gone.
Well, there's an injury there, so maybe he falls. Maybe the Bucs would trade up. I mean, we'll talk about that. I know there's a lot of Bucs fans out there that would like to see this team trade up. But for me, I say I'm like the guy from Casino. Why take a chance? If you have Myles Garrett out there, Trey Hendrickson, somebody like that, especially a Myles Garrett, why not take a chance on him?
Would you give up all that stuff for Myles Garrett?
Yes, I would easily. That is a generational player. I get it. You're going to have to pay him. But who's going to come in at 19 and make the kind of impact that Garrett's going to be able to make? Nobody.
Nobody at all.
Nobody. And the Bucs have kind of gone that route, right? They went with JTS. You went with Braswell. It still remains to be seen what Braswell is going to bring. He's a second-round pick. You got to have those guys develop. And usually defensive linemen, defensive ends, outside linebackers, whatever you want to call them, edge rushers, they don't make that transition so smoothly to the National Football League. So the championship window is open for the Bucs.
I do like Yaya.
I love him too, but he's not there yet.
Not consistent. Yeah, he's not consistent yet.
4.5 sacks. He wants to be an elite pass rusher. You got to start winning those one-on-one matchups, period.
Yep.
And you got to stay healthy. Best availability is best ability is availability. Agree. So
this this Buccaneers team, it's good to finally watch our team have consistency.
Okay.
And I know that the defense let us down, in some games last year. But what I love about our team now is these guys fight.
Mm.
And say what you want about Todd Bowles. They go out there and they play for him.
Right.
They do.
That's
they
true.
Really, really do.
That's true. And
there's nothing you can take from him because they go out there and they play for the guy.
Do you think he's on the hot seat this year again?
I think it depends on how we win this season.
Okay. Well, in your opinion, if they do what we think they're going to do, which is go into free agency or get one of these big players, an edge rusher, do you think the pressure is put on him and you have to get out of the first and get into the second round? I don't even think it should be talked about, but I think the expectations are there. And we know the Glazers, progressively every year, 8 wins, 9 wins, 10 wins. But eventually you're going to have to get over the top. You're going to have to get out of the first round.
Here's the problem that our Buccaneers have.
Okay.
We have not been consistently healthy since Super Bowl year.
Correct.
That is the problem with the Buccaneers. That's what if anybody goes and looks at the Buccaneers, you can complain that the defense sucked. You can complain that the coaching was terrible. You can complain about fumbles and interceptions. You can complain about all that.
Sure.
But injuries are a big part of the game.
Okay.
Huge part of the game. Okay. Look at Philly. Philly was beat up real bad last year. Philly had a lot of beat up players last year.
Right.
The year before. And that's when, they won 10 games and then they were just sliding in the back half of the season.
Correct. 10-1, and then they slide out and the Bucs destroyed them.
They just slide out. They had tons of injuries.
Right.
Detroit, they fought all they could with all the injuries they had last year.
Good point.
Injuries it derails a team.
Yep.
Because, you build this chemistry over the months of the football season, and that chemistry is not there when you have to continue to replace players.
Mm.
And, even here's the thing. Kansas City. As much as I do not like Kansas City, they're not really beat up that much.
No, they don't have those critical injuries, especially to the quarterback of their skill positions. But you do remember the 2 offensive linemen that were out of Super Bowl 55. How much did that hurt them? You're exactly right.
Well, it hurt them just like it did this year.
Yep, agree.
And that's like, San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
Look at all the injuries San Francisco had.
Major injuries.
They had a terrible season.
Yep.
Because the injuries killing them.
Right.
So, definitely interested in the combine. Definitely. You know what I really want? I really want. This is what I want. They need to do. They need to bring the draft to Tampa.
Right.
Bring the draft to Tampa. In your opinion, if they brought it to Tampa, where would they have it at?
Well, you have to have a Raymond James Stadium, of course.
Think so?
Yeah, absolutely.
What about the City Walk?
Where?
City Walk. Is it City Walk?
Yeah, you could do that, I guess. You could do that. Curtis, stand by here. Hold on a minute. Alex, we got Curtis on the line. We're going to finish up with Curtis, and we'll get out to you. Stand by. All right, my friend? All right, let's go back out to Curtis. Curtis, go ahead, finish up.
I'm definitely interested. Definitely interested in watching the combine.
Okay.
I'm definitely more interested in free agency. I think we definitely need to re-sign Chris Godwin.
Okay.
Definitely. I mean, I don't care that this guy has been hurt. This guy, he shows you that he works his ass off, and he'll come back from an injury.
Right.
And he's better than he was.
Correct.
So I think we need to start looking for replacements for Mike Evans. I don't know how many years he got. I don't know how many years he wants to. I don't know how many more years he wants.
Well, listen, it brings up an important point here. We got to run. Use that second call if you want to. I'm going to try to stay on because we got some more news. But if you lose Chris Godwin, does wide receiver become a need? And if there is a wide receiver at number 19, are you interested in drafting one?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right, Curtis, appreciate the call, my friend, as always. We'll see you later, all right? All right, good stuff there. Let me go out to Alex Nunster. Alex, welcome to the Evolution of Sports Talk Television here, as we had all kinds of questions for the night when it comes to your Rays. How many wins do you see this Rays team having? Do you think they could sell? Do you believe what J.P. Peterson has put out there? We put that out there as this team, according to him and his sources on Friday, are looking to sell. The team Stu is looking to sell. It looks like Major League Baseball is trying to force it. I mean, where do we start here? And then who are you looking forward to in the combine for the Bucs? Go ahead. Welcome to the Evolution.
Well, actually, I'm actually going to flip the script a little bit and talk about some hockey for a second, and then I'll talk about some baseball.
Go for it.
How about the battle of the border between USA and Canada wrapping up last week with Connor McDavid's bringing it home for Canada? What a battle that was. Many Bolts represented the four nations. I know Hagel had a little bit of a hot streak at the end for Team Canada.
Correct.
But what a blast that was to watch. Many Bolts between the four nations battling it out. Got to say that was a lot of fun. It was all talked about all over the sports world for about 24 hours during that game. Got to say, I don't know if you were able to catch that game, but was that not exciting or what?
It was exciting. And I think, look, the NHL got it right there. Unlike the NBA, unlike the NFL, even though the NFL is entertaining, unlike Major League Baseball, I think they got it right. They made it. There was some urgency to it. There was a reason. There's a pride in your nation, and players want to play for that nation. And it was exciting. And look, USA had a chance there in the overtime. They had, 3 grade A chances to win that game. Were not able to do it. You tip your hat to the opposing goalie there, who was amazing. And then Connor McDavid, he's shown that he's definitely most likely going to be the face, if he's not already the face of the NHL, puts the biscuit in the basket. And that's what you want to see. And I'm looking forward to seeing this year after year, because I think it, not only drives interest in the game itself, but there's, again, there's a reason why you're watching it. It's not just an all-star game. You're not just doing an all-star skills competition. There's something to it, and it's what a lot of leagues should emulate, if that makes sense.
It's about representing for a second, putting team to team aside for a second, but it's awesome to see these guys represent their country either one way or another.
Yeah.
And I know it was going to be the highlight to see Team USA and Canada, and it was a battle to the last second. So hats off to Team Canada. It was a fight till the last goal, and it was amazing to watch. But that was fun. But hey, ever since then, the Bolts have came back. They actually were able to take the last 2 games. They played Seattle yesterday.
5 in a row.
Yep, it was a good game yesterday. They beat the Canadians again on Sunday, so the Bolts are coming out of the break looking pretty good. So, hey, we'll see what the Bolts do for the playoff push as they wrap up the second third of the season. But let's talk about some Rays baseball for a second.
Let's do it.
The Rays were looking good today. They ended up getting their game canceled due to the rain down there in Port Charlotte. I believe that's what they were.
Correct.
Danny Jansen had Rays' new acquisition for a catcher. He had a home run. He had a solo bomb home run.
Second home run of the spring training. Yes.
Yep.
Absolutely.
He's looking really good. I think I told you last week that I was really excited about that acquisition. I think he's going to be a good leader behind the dish. Because if you look at the Rays starting rotation, we talked about this too, that if the Rays starting rotation can stay healthy, the Rays have a really, really, really good chance of making some life in the division if we can stay healthy. Offensive wise, the Rays are looking really good offensively. We haven't seen the bulk of the Rays hitters as far as the top 9 in the lineup. But so far this spring, the Rays, I believe are 2-2. I believe they're 2-2. We saw a little bit of the starting. We saw Danny Jansen today. Like I said, he had 2 bombs this spring training, as you just mentioned. If the Rays rotation can stay healthy, which has been a thing the last few years for this Rays organization, if we can stay healthy, I think the Rays have a chance. But Peter, you just mentioned it when you got on the phone with me. I want to talk to you about it for a second. J.P. Peterson coming out with the Rays stadium deal. Stu Sternberg potentially selling.
Yes.
I'm not sure. I saw his post. It kind of came out of nowhere. I don't know. I'm not seeing anything about it. I'm not seeing Mark Tompkin say anything about it. I'm not seeing any sources saying about it. I know J.P. Peterson has very true reliable sources from where he gets his information. But what do you think about J.P. Peterson's announcement of Stu Sternberg potentially selling to a potential 1 or 2 high buyers in the Tampa area? Not St. Pete, by the way. Keep that in mind, guys. This is in Tampa, where a lot of people knew that St. Pete deal was just, in my opinion, I think that St. Pete deal was just a thing to buy Stu time. This deal was never going to go to fruition. I even told you a couple times during the last year or two since it's been mentioned on the show that I think it's a bad deal. The Rays need to be in Tampa. The Rays belong in Tampa. It's a good location in Tampa. But what are your thoughts on all this maybe being an actual thing?
Well, I heard about this being a natural thing about 6 months ago. And remember, there was a report by, I believe it was like the New York Post, where the deal fell through. And that's the reason why the Rays were sellers in the first place, getting rid of Randy Arozarena and other parts because they planned on selling it. But I definitely believe J.P. Peterson. He's been in this business for over 20 years. He's got sources out there. He says one group has been led by Eddie DeBartolo. I mean, that would be tremendous for the Tampa Bay area. And at the end of the day, I'm hoping they sell the team because you know how much I despise Stu Sternberg. I think he holds this team back. I think they've won, but they could win more if you had an owner that not only took it seriously, but also respected this fan base, and he's done none of those things when it comes down to it. So I'm waiting a bated breath at this point for this to happen, because once it happens, my friend, I'm definitely going to have some shots. I'm not a drinker. I'm not a partier. But like I said, I'm going to party like it's 1999 if it happens, because I believe the Tampa Bay sports fan deserves better than Stu Sternberg and this ownership. I made no bones about it. When it comes down to the blueprint, it's Jeff Vinnick and the Tampa Bay Lightning. It's the Glazers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going for it every year, trying to win a Super Bowl. And that's the kind of mindset you need with this new ownership group that's going to own the Tampa Bay Rays.
And Peter, I want to add to your comment there, my friend. People need to understand that this has been going on for such a long period of time. This has been going on for, I think this stadium or deal started about 10 years ago. 15 years ago.
15 years.
We've been Yeah, it's been a long time, Peter.
I didn't have a beard back then when it started. Now I do. So long it's been.
I feel you there, man. but no, I think people need to realize as a Rays fan myself, and again, I've mentioned this a couple of times, a season ticket holder myself. First year, by the way, not being able to renew my season tickets because of the location, which is unfortunate, but it's this Rays fans are going to come back. People don't understand. People think that we don't have a fan base. Rays have a huge fan base, and you'd be surprised how large our fan base is. But it's been going on for 15 years. How am I supposed to support a team as much as I'm hanging in there? How am I supposed to support a team when an owner on a yearly basis, it's something new every day, and this has been dragging on for so long. So, Peter, if what JP Peterson is saying, dude, I am joining you on the ride of taking some shots, man, because this has been going on a long time. But yes, I am very excited about Rays baseball this year, Peter. I'm so excited. I think we're going to have a great year.
How many wins?
How many wins? Well, I will say it really depends on how the Rays start. So I'm sure you're well aware that Major League Baseball has decided to flop the Rays schedule by playing, I think, 30 home games straight at home, and then going on the road like that for a long period of time during the summer. That's tough. That is a tough schedule. That's not normal. When you're on the road for such a long period of time, does that have a long-term effect on players and their families? And I know, people think it's just about going, up to the plate and playing some baseball, swinging a bat, but they got families, friends. I know they get paid millions of dollars to play, but at the end of the day, being on the road for a tough stretch for a long period of time like that, traveling from city to city to someone who's done that for a living, myself, traveling all the time, it's tough. So I don't know. We'll see. Can the Rays stay healthy as well? I don't know. I think the division looks tougher. I know the Red Sox picked up Alex Bregman from the Red Sox. From Houston. I know that some of these teams have picked up some really good pickups. I think our division is a little bit tougher this year than it was last year. Don't be surprised if you see the Red Sox back on top this year. They've made some good moves this season. The Yankees have always made, some good acquisitions this year. Their starting rotation looks absolutely insane. And then, of course, the O's are the O's. The O's have been kind of making some highlights the last few years. So I would see, I'm going to see another 500 year, Peter, because I just don't know about that offense. I know our pitching is there, but I just don't think the Rays have done enough, on the offensive side. So I'm calling the same prediction as last year. I'm calling 82 wins and 80 losses. I'm calling a little bit above 500 year. For the first year, I'm making that prediction just because I just don't think the Rays have done enough on the acquisition for the offense. I know they got Kim last minute from over at San Diego. I like that. He won't be returning until May. But, we'll see. Does Johnny DeLuca take over his role over at center field? How can he hit? Can he good? Is Josh Lowe going to stay healthy? Is Brandon Lau going to stay healthy? That's another 20-plus home run guy. If he can stay healthy, he hasn't been able to stay healthy the last few years.
Well,
so
maybe be able to, because now he's on the grass instead of that surface. Great stuff, Alex. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me, bud.
Absolutely. Good stuff there. So we will wrap it up with that phone call. I think we'll take the phone calls off for right now. We'll go through some of these news and notes, and then we will wrap it up for the night because it's getting late. And once again, I want to be considerate. Dan Pompey of The Athletic believes it appears certain that the Buccaneers want to re-sign Chris Godwin. Pompey goes on to say it was previously reported that last week Godwin was working on a new contract with the Buccaneers. Per Pompey, say that 3 times, the decision to push back the void date on Godwin's current deal is an indication both sides are hopeful a deal can be reached and that talks are in the works. Godwin is working his way back from a torn ACL suffered in Week 7 last season after being on pace for one of the best years of his career. With that being said, also according to Athlon Sports' Andrew Schultz, pay Godwin, he says two clear options for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when it comes to Godwin. Pay Godwin a new contract with a market value of $22.5 APY per sporadic, or let him test the free agent market and see if he comes back. And we imagine that there will be a host of teams interested in his services. Tell you what, we'll get to the other stuff here. Actually, we'll go ahead and get to some of this stuff, and then we will get off for the night here. We'll save some of this for Wednesday because I don't want to go too late here. According to Pewter Reports, here he had the Pewter Report. They had this from Daniel Jeremiah when it comes to the draft. Of course, the combine starting tomorrow. All eyes will be on the combine for this Tampa Bay Buccaneer team, whether it's edge rusher, corner, or linebacker. This is what Daniel Jeremiah of NFL Network had to say. He says, well, aggressive guys that can blitz from anywhere, talking about what the Bucs could look at, and Todd Bowles. Jahad Campbell would be sure as heck fun to watch. Of course, the linebacker of Alabama, we've talked about him there with all the different things he can do. Fast and explosive and smart. There's a good combination for him, Coach Bowles, to be able to play there. That's the first thing that jumped off the top of my head here when I'm thinking about those type of guys. Mikael Williams from Georgia would be another one. You can do a lot of different things with him in terms of rushing him inside, rushing him outside. He's an athletic enough. If you want to drop him, he can do a lot of things as well. Those are the couple names to me that kind of jump off. Pretty dynamic players they are. I love it when you have pass rushers that can win from different entry points. I think those guys can both win from a variety of entry points. Jeremiah's assessment of those type of players who fit is spot on when looking at it, according to Scott Reynolds of Pewter Report. Campbell is the most highly regarded inside linebacker in his class, possesses ability to line up anywhere, do whatever is asked of him, whether getting after the quarterback, 5 sacks in 2024, or dropping in coverage with prototypical muscular frame. He has the skill set and athletic traits to be the next lineage of dominant Bucs inside linebackers. When it comes to Mikael Williams, according to Pewter Report, he's another player who has the traits to blossom into much more. While not projected to fall at number 19, General Manager Jason Light may have a difficult time not pulling the trigger to select him. Jeremiah goes on to say, Mikael Williams, gosh, I just wish he would have seen him healthy. If he doesn't get hurt in that Clemson game and we see him at full strength, I think we're talking about him as another top 10 lock who has a lot of freaky qualities to him. Yes, I said freaky traits to him. That's Jeremiah, not me. Trust me, that's what he said. He can really get off the ball. He's got a lot of power and violence as a rusher. He can set the edge. Not a finished project, of course, a bit raw. He could quickly become someone who climbs up draft boards like Trayvon Walker did to become the first overall pick in 2022. I said I wouldn't take another phone call, but I will. Welcome to the Evolution. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Lakeland, Florida. This is Eric. Bring your passion. Bring the excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense, Peter. How you doing tonight?
How you doing, man? You hanging in there?
Yeah, I'm trying to keep my mind off things, but yeah,
Okay.
I
All right. Well, what your mind's on tonight? I gotta ask you some questions first and foremost. You want to change the sports web to 8:00 instead of 9?
On Monday, yeah.
Okay, so 8:00 for you. All right, we got that down. How many wins for the Rays this year?
I'm gonna go if we stay healthy. The sky's the limit. I'm gonna say 88.
88 wins.
Is that enough for a wild card?
It might be. We'll see. We'll see. Okay. And then do you think this team is going to get sold? Because you saw the JP Peterson report on Friday where it looks like Stu could be selling. Okay. So you're positive about that. Okay. And what's the position that you're most looking forward to seeing in the NFL Combine this week? Is it edge rusher, linebacker, or cornerback?
Kind of, all three of the Bucs need edge rusher.
Okay.
whether we get Myles Garrett or draft one, a corner. Someone was looking at Asante Samuel.
Okay.
I don't know if that would be a fit.
Okay.
So.
All right. All right. Yeah. Good stuff. All right. What else is on your mind tonight?
Just hope the Rays can, someone can buy the Rays and, hopefully keep them here in some Tampa Bay sports group and, keep them in the Tampa Bay area and get that new stadium secured.
All right. I love the optimism here. I think it's certainly possible, and hopefully it happens before the season. So me and you can go have some drinks together, because I'm not a drinker, but I'll definitely do some shots with the sports web heads. How about that?
I don't drink, but yeah, it sounds good.
Well, I don't drink either. So when I say I'm going to have a couple of shots, that basically means it's going to be a short night.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good, Peter.
All right, man. Appreciate you. Hang in there. God bless you. Right, brother?
All right, man. You too.
All right, man. Good stuff. I know he's going through some stuff there. We're losing his father, but we're going to try to take his mind off of that here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Let's go back to SI, what they think when it comes to the Bucs. And then on that, we'll go ahead and end off, and we'll finish more of this on Wednesday night at 9 o'clock. We'll decide. We'll see if it's 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock at this point. We'll take a poll. I still think I'm going to keep it at 8 o'clock. Or 9 o'clock. I'm just going to be considerate. SI says with the Bucs sitting near the bottom of the first round after making the trade, because they think that the Bucs are going to trade down, which is certainly a possibility with Jason Light doing that in the past. The 26th overall selection would be Georgia edge rusher Mikael Williams. They say Tampa gains an extra pick from the Rams and picks up a versatile, high-ceiling player in Williams. While he still needs to develop a pass rusher, Williams would help the Buccaneer unit that just one player grades over 60.0 in run defense last season. Run defense, not even edge, getting after the quarterback. Prior to most recent college football season, Mikael Williams was projected as a likely top 10 pick based on his exceptional physical profile and athletic gifts. That said, Williams didn't wreak as much havoc during the season as many draft evaluators have expected. As a result, Williams could very likely see himself slip down to the bottom of the first round. Here's the problem with all that. There's potential there, but is he going to come in right away and make an impact? And I'm not sure. Reading all this stuff about Williams, and of course, Todd Bowles, his son, plays at Georgia. So if somebody knows about Jalen Walker or knows about Williams there, it would be Todd Bowles, because he has the inside track. If you don't think there's some type of intel going on with his son playing there, you got another thing coming, because there most likely is. You use whatever you got, right? You apply what you know. Talking about them, they don't seem like they're guys that are going to come in right away. They seem like projects. There's lots of potential there, but you're not sure what you're going to get with them. And that's maybe the reason why they're falling down the draft boards, or maybe they're going up. Who knows what the combine will hold. With that being said, we'll go ahead and wrap it up right there. We'll read the rest of these comments, and then we will get out for the night. Appreciate it, as always, tuning into the Evolution of Sports Talk Television on Monday and Wednesday nights at 9 o'clock, unless you guys want me to change it to 8 o'clock. Of course, Facebook stars are always open. We had a little battle tonight between Cam Decker and the Marine. Cam says, you sound like a liberal. Don't make this political. He's definitely not a liberal, I can tell you that. I'm the clown, though. You're an idiot. Bob says, a most talented and versatile rider. Absolutely. Jim was absolutely amazing. Thanks to him tonight for coming on. Is it your first day on the internet? Marine says, it certainly seems to be yours. Grow up and get a life. Cam says, show me on the doll where the internet hurt you. Hello to Eric. Hello to you. Let's go out to Cam again. I've been a troll on Peters for a long time. It's the internet. Relax. It's not that serious. Cam says, Ron's going to sleep tonight. Pissed at my daddy issues comment. Marine says, go troll elsewhere because nobody cares to see it. Cam says, a grown man telling other men on the internet what to do with their lives. Nice. Keep feeding the trolls. You sound intelligent. Cam again. Ron's definitely a Biden supporter. Not true. Bob says $79, 3-0 over Kansas City. Hello, playoffs. Marine says, just calling you out for the prick that you are. Look at yourself in the mirror before you come. Yeah, well, let's not go ahead and go to that, Ron. I get it. The rain, Jim, Cam. Okay, I think I'm probably done with these comments from Cam at this point. Hey, Florida boy, Dave wants to talk about the Bucs first season. Thanks a lot for the call. Christopher Cole, Old Garrett would be a dream, but I believe that his trade demand is just to get a new contract from the Browns. I don't really think he wants to be there, Christopher Cole. He said he wanted to win a Super Bowl. The Bucs give him the best situation, best possibility. I've gone through that. I definitely think it's possible. I definitely do. But we'll see. Christopher Cole says, hey, Peter, did you bring up the defensive coaching swap around last Friday by Bulls? Yes, Mike Caldwell is back in the fold there for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So there has been some defensive shifts. Bob says Philly and Tampa is the game. BTSD says Christopher Cole. Christopher Cole, 8:30. So we got one for 8:30. That picture was falling was an omen. Laugh out loud. 9 p.m. says, damn it, Jim.
Damn it, Jim. What the hell is the matter with you?
Let's go out to Jim here. Kirk Cousins does have 288 career touchdowns, which is pretty surprising. Christopher Cole, Bulls made a lot of coaching staff changes. That might be the last effort to keep his job. Good point. Matthews blew that game for the USA because he left McDavid wide open in the middle of the ice. You can't let that happen. And of course, Matthews has the opportunity to once again bury that goal, and he's not able to do it. Again, credit to the goalie where credit is due. But still, if you're one of the top players in the world representing the USA, you got to make that shot. Laugh out loud. Love you reading the internet fights, Pete. Yes, I try to do my best. Again, YouTube super chats are open. Like and subscribe to the Sports Web. Facebook stars open. Friend me at Peter H. Blake. Do 3 things. We'll keep it down a little bit. Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake, your Rolex reporter. What time is it? It's my time. And for fans of the Sports Web and the Tampa Bay sports fan, it's your time. We'll see you next time on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. As always, go Bucs. And how about this? Raise up.